as we come to work. That's what Detroit about. That's why they used it. It's a team thing. They won 2 championships, a team. There was no star. No mayor can come in here and be a star. It's a team thing. No governors can come here and think you can do it by yourself. It's a team thing. You got communities. They got ideas too. The only thing wrong with Detroit, people have lost hope here. Residents, city workers, so much corruption, they lose hope. But I grew up here. I love this city. I think it can come back. I've been working for the city 24 and a half years. Within the last 10 years, we took 4 pay cuts, and then an additional 10% wage cut. I've lost a home.
When you take all of the decisions out of the city of Detroit, all of us, then what do you have? Exactly what we got, a lot of problems. Every time the city seems to fall into a problem, it's always on the backs of us workers.
You wake up out of a dead sleep and you jump behind the wheel and take off driving and try to get everybody there safe, not knowing really what you're pulling up to, not eligible for Social Security. So the pension is my sole salary at this point.
We've been in business here 39 years. We've seen a lot of changes in Detroit. The area was a lot of industry, a lot of city workers. It's getting very tough for the city workers. It's getting tough for us as a business people.
Response times are increasing because of the closing of companies, which takes your insurance rate through the roof. So all the things that affect us affect the citizens.
I worked for the city in different capacities for 29 years. I feel like an old jacket. They use me up and they throw me away. In my condition, nobody's gonna hire me. I'm 68 years old. Half the times, I can't get my blood pressure medicine. It's either feeding myself blood pressure or paying bills.
$754. By the time they take all the deductions for I have my car insurance, my house insurance, and my health insurance taken out. So the time they take all that, I'll get about $300 after they take all that out. I don't understand it. I can't see how the governor is allowing this to happen and what they're doing and they want to blame it all on the seniors. Not only the seniors, but the city workers. And we worked hard. I know I worked hard.
I've been in Detroit since 1946. I was 14 years old when I came in. I don't live large at all. I wish I could. I don't know when the last time I've been shopping. I only get $1,100, and I'm 81 years old, and I need every penny that I can get and that I do get. And I'm very, very upset about the idea of them taking away my pensions that I worked 30 years for.
I think it's terrible that they talk about Detroit like they do, because Detroit has been very good to me.
I have a lot of city workers coming in with their uniforms on, Detroit Water Department, Police Department, Fire Department. I get a lot of people, the Border Patrol come in. So if I lose that customer base, I'm going to be in a position where I might have to close down. If they take away their pensions, if they start cutting jobs, it's going to cut into a large percentage of not only our business, but other businesses that are in the city of Detroit. We're here. We've been here for 26 years. We're still trying to do business in the city.
Detroiters are survivors. They tough, they adapt, but only can do so much when your politicians ahead of you and we're not on the same team. We're not gonna let Detroit be erased, bulldozed to where. We're gonna fight to the bitter end. Detroit gonna survive.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Okay, friends and neighbors, we'll be back to the news of the day in just a moment here. But first, I've got one important question to ask all of you. Have you made your pledge yet to Free Speech TV? And if not, why the hell not? Come on, seriously. You know, we depend on you, we need you, and we count on you to keep us going here at Free Speech TV because you're all we've got. We don't get any corporate money, we don't get any government money, so all of us, depend. Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman, all the rest depend, Stephanie Miller, depend on you to keep us going on Free Speech TV so we can continue the good work that we do, looking over the news every day, what's happening in Washington, what's happening around the country, what's happening around the globe, what are the important issues that we ought to talk about, particularly what are the progressive issues that we ought to be talking about and working on and fighting for, figuring out the best guests that we can get in studio or on the phone that particular day to help us understand these issues, and then of course opening up the phones and opening up the social media lines so you can get involved in the conversation and express your comments and your opinion on what it all means to you and to your family. That's what we do every day. We can only do it with your help. So we ask you to dig in once again, help keep us on the air here at Free Speech TV. If you can just do $10 a month, that's $120 a year. We'll send you a BP mug, a Bill Press Show mug, and a pound of coffee from our favorite coffee shop just downstairs in this building, Peregrine Coffee. For $20 a month, $240, you will get a very, very special gift indeed. One of the great cheeses from Cowgirl Creamery out on the West Coast, right near where we live in California, Point Reyes Station. And for $30 a month or $360 a year, if you can make that pledge, you'll get the mug and the Cowgirl Creamery. And then as a very, very special item to show you how much we appreciate your support, if you're in a position to pledge $1,000 to Free Speech TV, get yourself to Washington with a friend. Take the plane, take the train, take the bus, drive here, whatever. Carol and I will take you out to dinner the night before, and the next morning we'll invite you to join us in studio to meet the whole team here and to watch a special edition of the Bill Press Show. So with those incentives, hope that you will understand again and be inspired to do the right thing, particularly now at tax time, and take advantage of that this opportunity to get a little write-off on your taxes by helping Free Speech TV. So it's a twofer. You keep progressive television, Free Speech TV on the air, and you get the tax benefit as well. But again, no government money, no corporate money. Here at Free Speech TV, we depend on you. Thanks so much for your help.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified, not knowing what to do. they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey now, happy Tuesday. Welcome to The Bill Press Show. I am clearly not Bill Press. My name is Peter Ogburn. Back at it again. Filling in for Bill today. This is my last day filling in, by the way, so thank you for all of your hateful comments. I absorb them all. They make me stronger. We've got like the rest of the week. We've got real respected journalists coming in to host the show. But for me, I'm just here to spout off and ramble on out of my dumb hole and just thank you for chiming in. Thank you for calling 866-55-PRESS and for tweeting me at Peter Ogburn and at BP Show. But today is my last day filling in. But we're gonna have fun today. I can already tell we're gonna have a good show. We've got a lot of good guests coming in, and we've got a lot to talk about. So, like I said, Tuesday, March 25th. So happy it's Tuesday, SHI Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in. 7 minutes past the hour, March 25th. Running the board today, of course, is Elisa Murphy. Elisa, good morning to you, madam.
Good morning.
Are you well? How are things?
Yeah, very well.
Good.
Waiting for the big snowstorm to hit.
Let me tell you something. All right. Alicia Cruz is screening. Hold that thought. Alicia Cruz is screening your calls. 866-55-PRESS is our telephone number, 866-55-PRESS. And if you are watching video of the program today, either on DirecTV or Dish Network, on the Free Speech TV channel, or on youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKRTV, you are watching that because of the good work of Mr. Cyprian Bolding, who is keeping us on the air. Here's the deal. It's spring. It's nearly April. And we got to worry about snow coming today?
I know, and it's like
Are you kidding
serious
me?
snow later, they're saying. And they never seem to be wrong, these people.
I don't think it's going to be a lot of snow. I think what's going to happen is it's going to stick on like the grass.
Yeah.
You know, not on the roads.
Yeah, nice
But still,
sprinkling, hopefully.
It's spring.
I know. It's infuriating.
No, this is... everybody says, oh, I like snow. Oh, snow is... I like snow, too. I grew up in South Carolina. I never had seasons. I would go out and play golf in shorts on Christmas Day. We didn't get snow. We got snow literally one time when I was a kid. But snow season's over. I don't want any snow. I know how bad it is. I can always tell how bad the weather's going to be by that smarmy phone call I get from my father. Hey man, Obama and his daggum global warming, man, and now it's going to snow in springtime. How about that global warming, man?
And you're like, great, I needed a talker.
My dad, the weatherman. My dad, the redneck weatherman, calling me up. Yeah, man. You got snow coming. I don't want to hear no more about this global warming.
Oh, no.
Get out of here with that crap. I mean... You see it all over Twitter, too, these dummies. Always have this stuff in there. Oh, it's colder than usual where I live, so global warming is a hoax. Anyway, I'm going to be ranting about that just a little bit today. It bugs me. Ugh, drives me crazy. By the way, sad news yesterday. It was not long after the show ended yesterday, around 10:30 Eastern time, that the Malaysian Prime Minister came out and gave official word that the Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 has been lost. They still don't have any physical evidence of the plane crash, but they've said essentially there is no point in dragging this out for the families any longer. We need to get the word out there, and we need to give them some closure on this, because all signs point to the fact that this plane went down and there were no survivors. In fact, Malaysian Airlines sent out a group text to all of the families of the people that were on board. The text said, "We have to assume beyond reasonable doubt that MH370 has been lost and none of those on board have survived. We must now accept all evidence suggests the plane went down in the southern Indian Ocean." The problem is, of course, they can't really get to that area. I saw one commentator compare this to a washing machine, basically. It's violent, stormy, rocky seas. And so it's very tough to get there. But what I mean, the head of Malaysian Airlines, this guy by the name of Ahmad Johari, so he's taking all kinds of grief now. He's taking all kinds of flack because they sent a text message to the families. Like, they sent a group text to the family members. I don't have a problem with that.
But you're not even supposed to break up over a text. So sending.
Wait, here's the deal. What are you going to do?
I know, and it was the fastest way to get it out.
That's what I'm saying. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to do a robocall? Like, a robocall is less personal than a text, frankly. Or what, like a blast email? You can't call everybody. It's a lot of people, 200 something people on that plane.
And depending on if he did something else, they would have been angry. Well, you could have gotten this message to us sooner. So it is a double-edged sword.
I'm going to tell you right now, it's a crappy situation, and Malaysian Airlines did what they could do with that situation. I'm sorry that you got a text to tell you that they're officially calling this a crash and that no one on board survived. But number one, you got to know that was coming already.
Yeah.
And number two, I don't know how else you get it out there.
No, it's true.
In fact, everyone's calling for this guy's job now. Like, oh, he should resign because of this insensitive text to everybody. He actually addressed it yesterday.
What we did yesterday was to share that as quickly as possible to the next of kin. And will I resign? It's personal. It's personal.
Look, man, I'm not saying that they did a great job with this investigation and the hunt, but, what are you going to do? He explained it pretty well. You get out there the fastest way possible. Group text everybody's fine. 866-55-PRESS is our telephone number. If you want to chime in on that, 866-55-PRESS. Would love to hear what you have to say about that. Meanwhile, there is a news story that popped up yesterday that sort of came onto my radar. I mean, I'm dealing with a little bit of this right now. That is the issue of violent video games. So the latest, most extensive study on the effects of violent video games on kids came out yesterday. And what it says is that over the long term, this study shows that violent video games do make children more aggressive. It was published in the journal JAMA Pediatrics, led by a group at Iowa State University. And their conclusion was violent video games may set kids up to react in more hostile and violent ways. Now, I have two kids. I have two boys. We have a video game system, which we just got this past Christmas, right? We've been sort of anti-video games. And so we've got a couple of games. One of them being this Marvel superhero game.
Oh yeah.
And there are some guns involved, right? Mm-hmm. But it's all cartoonish, right? It's like a Lego violent game, right? So it's cartoonish comic book violence. And my wife was saying, like, I hate this. This is terrible. I don't like this at all. This is a real problem. And I'm sort of a mind that, like, if we let our kids play that and they then connect the dots to go out and get a real gun, then we haven't done our job as parents. That's always been my take, okay? And you could argue with me, 866-55-PRESS. I welcome it. 866-557-7377. I'm not of a mind that violent video games lead children to be more aggressive. I think it's all a matter of who it is playing the game. I don't think that it's a matter of the game turning a perfectly innocent, well-rounded, smart, good-parented child into a serial killer. You remember Columbine. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, the two shooters there. Everything they did became scrutinized, the heavy metal music they listened to and the whole goth lifestyle they were leading, but they also played violent video games. And I'm not so sure that I can say and point to video games as the reason that disturbed individuals do disturbing things. I'm not sure that I'm comfortable living in a world where we can justify those actions by blaming something else. I think that if you do something like that, and if you have these violent actions and you take part of these violent actions, something wasn't right there to begin with. Now we could have the conversation about whether or not video games spur those violent tendencies. My kid went to school a couple years ago with a little Buzz Lightyear laser gun, right? Buzz Lightyear has a little laser shooter.
Yeah, that's a problem. My nephew has one.
Yeah. So he takes it to school. He shows all of his friends. He comes back. I get a call from the teacher later on, or the principal later on. Says, we just want to let you know that Gray told all of his friends that he has a laser gun, and we are a little concerned, and we just want to make sure that you are monitoring and taking care of what is going on at home. I said, Principal, I just want you to know that he does not own an actual laser gun.
Oh, my goodness.
It's not an actual laser gun. It's a toy laser gun. Now, realistic guns, like realistic toy guns, keep them out of my house, man. Keep them out of my house. Don't let kids play with them, because I think that makes kids a little too comfortable with the idea of having a piece, and could also lead to real problems. Comic book violence, video games, things like that. I think that you've got to be a better parent, first of all, and don't let your 9-year-old child play Grand Theft Auto. Like, if that's what you do, you're just a bad parent. And your kid is going to get screwed over by that or something else. Doesn't necessarily have to be this violent video game. Something was going to happen. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a matter of all bad parenting. Give me a call and let me know about this. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Also, I'm on Twitter at Peter Ogburn and on Twitter at BP Show, reading comments on both Twitter feeds today. I'm multitasking.
Yeah, you are.
So let's play some of this audio. Douglas Gentile is from Iowa State University. He's one of the guys that was in on this study. They led this study. Let's play that first clip. Go ahead.
When kids play pro-social games, they learn from those and end up being more helpful and cooperative. If they play violent games, they learn from that and end up being more willing to behave aggressively when provoked.
866-55-PRESS, our telephone number. I understand what he's saying. I also think just take the video game equation out of this, right? Or take the video game out of the equation. Socialize more, yes. Get outside, play with your friends. What's social video games? Like, by definition, that's an oxymoron. Sit at home in the basement playing video games. You're not socializing. But what I'm saying is, these video games, as violent as they may be, I don't think trigger something in kids to make them go out and want to kill. I think that is making up an excuse for kids who are teenagers or whatever who may already have problems. Let me hear that second clip from Douglas Gentile. He's from Iowa State, helped in on this study.
Kids who started playing these violent games ended up having more aggressive thoughts, which ended up in more aggressive behaviors later.
I also think that when you read things like comic books and you open your mind to the old, like cowboys and Indians, right? Like guns and bows and arrows. It's also good for the imagination. You open up a whole new world of creativity. So I can see some good things here, too. Tell me what you think at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Would love to get your calls on this. 866-557-7377, 866-55-PRESS. Also, as I mentioned, I'm tweeting at Peter Ogburn, and we're tweeting at BP Show on Twitter. So feel free to join in and send us a comment there. It is the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill today. Taking your calls on violent video games. Do you blame video games for violence among kids? Taking a quick break, and we'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, we'll get back to the news of the day in just a moment here. But first, I got a couple of questions for you. First one, are you enjoying Free Speech TV? Well, I know the answer to that one. If you weren't, you wouldn't keep watching. We appreciate that. Good to have you with us. And the second question is, since you enjoy Free Speech TV so much, have you done your share to keep us on the air? Have you made your pledge? If so, we thank you because so many of you have. But if not, let's get on it. Do it today. It is so important. Look, again, I don't have to tell you how special Free Speech TV is. I'm very, very proud to be part of it. Less than a year right now. But it's the only place you can find such great hosts, Tom Hartman, Stephanie Miller, Amy Goodman. I hope I'm one of them. And it's all content-free, no commercials, the only truly independent and progressive cable channel that is out there. You won't find it anywhere else. But the thing is, we depend on you. That's the only way we can stay on the air. We get no corporate money, no government money, no sponsor money, right? It is all from our viewers that keep us going. So we ask you to give us a call today, 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org and make your pledge. And as a little reward for making your pledge, if you can do us this $10 a month, $120, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug. You can have your coffee with us every day, and a pound of coffee from Washington's favorite little coffee shop, which is right downstairs in our building. It's called Peregrine Coffee. If you can afford $20 a month, $240 pledge, you will get a very, very special treat from one of my favorite little businesses out in West Marin, California, West Marin County, from Cowgirl Creamery, a selection of their best cheeses. I think they're the best cheeses on the planet, and I've lived in Switzerland, so I know. Cowgirl Creamery for $240. For $360 or $30 a month, we'll send you the Cowgirl Creamery and a mug. And here's something very, very special. If you can do it and you can afford $1,000 for Free Speech TV, then make your way to Washington as a little special treat. I'll take you out to dinner with Carol, and we'll invite you and a guest in to watch the show the next morning here in our studio in downtown Washington, D.C. So those are just our ways of saying thank you ahead of time to you. Please do it. Please consider it today. And again, the number to call is 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org. We love bringing the show to you every morning, love being with you every day, and ask you to be with us by making your pledge as soon as you can and as generously as you can. Thank you so much.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill today. If you're watching the stream, you'll have an idea of how cold it is. It's springtime, and here I am in my Carol Press scarf. Crazy, man. Garbage weather is what it is. Not as bad as Chicago, though. Chicago had the most brutal winter of all. Let's go to Wayne in Chicago, Illinois. We're talking about video games and the new study that says violent video games do make children more violent. Wayne, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Peter? It's snowing right now.
Get out of here. Is it really?
Yes, it is. I couldn't believe it myself.
All right, I'm going to shut up. I'll shut up. I'll stop complaining, Wayne.
But anyway, as far as the video games are concerned, the violent video games.
Yes, sir.
I think that human beings have a propensity and a predisposition to violence anyway, just the fact that we're humans.
I think that's a good point.
Right. So by playing violent video games, I think those type of things will bring to the forefront our propensity and predisposition to violence. Just like when I was growing up as a kid, you had shows like Gunsmoke, Have Gun Will Travel, Combat. All those things desensitize you to violence and make it easier to perpetrate violence.
But do you think that if it, like my take is, I agree with you, right? I do think that humans are a violent animal, right? I mean, by nature. But is it just a matter of if it wasn't video games to unlock that violence, it would be something else?
True enough, it would be something else, and that's our struggle to learn how to control the dark sides of ourselves, which violence is a part of it.
I like it, Wayne. Thanks for the call.
Oh.
I like Wayne. Wayne's got that voice of God, man. I like when Wayne calls in. Good call, Wayne. 866-55-PRESS, our telephone number. Might sneak in another call or two on this on the other side. We've got Arthur Delane from the Huffington Post joining us. It's the Bill Press Show. Stay tuned.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, just a little break here and time out to tell you about something very, very important. It's that time again when we turn to you and ask for your help because we wouldn't be here without you. You know, it's so funny. Everywhere I go, people always say, man, you got 3 hours to fill every morning. How do you do it? How do you keep up with all of it? You know, well, let me tell you, we work hard at it. I mean, we start at the end of every show. The first thing we do, we just sit right down and start planning the next day's show and get a rough outline kind of where we want to go and what guests we might want to have and what we think the big issues are going to be. And then we go out and all day long, you know, we're watching the news, reading the news, looking at the websites, following everything. I'm down at the White House every day at the briefings and keeping on top of things down there. And then we, meantime, Peter and Elisa particularly are on the phone, booking our guests for the next day. We reconvene in a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon and find out what guests we've got and where we think we're going to go the next day in terms of issues and things we want to talk about. We're also watching that evening and then the next morning before every show, we reconvene again and sit down and say, and put it finally together. And then we're on the air. So, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we love doing it, and we couldn't do it without you. That's the important thing, because Free Speech TV, no corporate money, no government money. It is all viewer contributions. We work only for you and depend on you and ask you to help us once again as generously as you can. And there's a little incentive to do so. You can go to freespeech.org, make your contribution, freespeech.org. If you can give us $120, that's $10 a month. We will send you a mug, a Bill Press mug, and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop downstairs in this building, for $240 or $20 a month. From Cowgirl Creamery, the best cheese in the world, believe me, made in California, close to our home in California. A special package from Cowgirl Creamery for $360 or $30 a month. You'll get the Cowgirl Creamery selection and a Bill Press mug as well. And a very special treat for those who are able to do so and willing to pledge $1,000 of Free Speech TV. You make your way to Washington anytime with a guest. I will take you and your guest out to dinner, some fabulous restaurant in Washington, and invite you in to watch the show the next morning. So I know you're part of the free speech community, or else you wouldn't be watching this morning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help in the past. And now please ask you to dig in again. You know how important it is. I know how much you depend on the independent expression of progressive opinion you only get on Free Speech TV. Now's the time to help again, and thank you.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, live on this Tuesday, March 25. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is my last day filling in. We've filled the rest of the week with legitimate journalists. Included, we have Evan McMorris Santoro is going to be hosting. We have Clinton Yates is coming in. And then on Friday, for the first time, colleague of our in-studio guest, Arthur Delane, Sabrina Siddiqui is hosting.
Oh, good show.
She's going to be hosting. It's Tuesday, 33 minutes past the first hour of the program, which means it's time for us to join our good friend Arthur Delane in studio. Follow him on Twitter at Arthur Delane, HP, and read his fine work at HuffingtonPost.com.
And please do follow me on Twitter. If I don't get more followers, I'm going to cut my head off.
It's going to be real trouble.
Yeah.
It's going to be a real problem. I highly suggest you follow Arthur. There's a lot of good stuff there.
I give good tweet.
Yeah, you give very good tweet. Excellent tweet. Arthur, before you came in, we were talking about this new study about violent video games.
Oh.
There's a new study out that indicates and would lead us to believe that violent video games do make children more violent and more aggressive.
So this is the latest. There have been studies like this before. Yes. And in the aggregate, there has been no conclusion.
Right.
Like there's suggestions that they increase aggression among certain age kids, but this is one.
This is the
for
latest.
The aggressive.
Yeah, this is the latest one that shows.
Okay.
Would you ever play video games? Like,
I grew up playing all the video games.
Okay.
Starting with the Mario.
Okay.
Going through the Sonic the Hedgehog. Ultimately winding up with the Doom.
Doom.
Doom
was big. Yeah.
Doom
was big.
Was one of the first, probably the most famous of the games where you're blowing people's heads off with a shotgun or whatever else, and it's more realistic and it has blood.
I remember you had a chainsaw, right? You could use a chainsaw and just cut people up with it.
Extremely gruesome and horrible.
Really gory.
I couldn't believe that I was able to play it, but my parents, this was computer software. Right. They were powerless, clueless, unable to stop me. The only limitation was my computer didn't have enough RAM. But anyway, I played those games and I haven't killed anybody.
Yeah, I'm sort of a mind that if you're a good parent and you explain to your kids, I mean, look, if you have a 9, 10, 11-year-old and you're letting them play Grand Theft Auto, I mean, you've got bigger problems, right? I don't know that that's a great thing for you to do as a parent.
I haven't kept up with the video game systems myself, but have played a lot of the new Grand Theft Auto game at a friend's house, and several times while we're like drinking beer and playing this game, something happens on screen, and I have been deeply unsettled by what I saw. Like, oh, this is really offensive.
Right. It's more offensive and insensitive than anything.
Right. So. And just gruesomely realistic car crashes and pedestrian collisions. It's an unsettling game.
Yeah. The big fight not the fight, but the big conversation, the dialogue that we're having in my house is over this Marvel superheroes game, right? It's based on Marvel superheroes, but it's Lego, so there's no actual violence.
Right.
So like if you die, your Legos fall apart, right? And so I have a 9 and a 6-year-old, and they love the game. My wife is going, it's a little violent.
Because it has a little bit of a firearm element.
There's some of the characters use firearms, but then again, some of them use proton blasts.
I am sympathetic to the arguments that judges have made in ruling unconstitutional bans on these games and additional requirements, which is that there has been violence in children's stories throughout time.
Right.
And that has even been controversial in the past, and it's nothing really to worry about. I think what's happening, the furor over video games right now, is perfectly analogous to when they were burning comic books, like during the Cold War, and they were afraid that the youth were being corrupted by these comic books, and it was causing truancy. Only now we have a more, I guess, a higher stakes version of that. But I am, study or no, profoundly skeptical of anyone saying violent video games are eroding our culture and causing the children to be violent.
Let's take a quick call on this if we can. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number, and then we'll move on to some other news with Arthur Delane. Kevin from Stratford, Connecticut. Kevin, thanks for calling the Bill Press Show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
What's your take?
First of all, you were talking about Grand Theft. I wonder how Daryl Issa is at that game.
He's probably really good at it.
I imagine so.
He plays it with the Bluetooth in, and he's trash talking the kids.
But my real call is I grew up in the 60s, and we used to watch combat shows, like the show Combat with Vic Morrow, and we grew up with little plastic guns playing Army. And I don't know of any of my friends, and we all played, turned into Rambo. I think anything when you're doing anything, too much of anything is no good, whether it's drugs, sex, whether it's going to church, whatever. If you do too much of anything, it can be no good. And I just think that if you have good parenting, then video games, plastic guns, they don't make the person. It's how you're brought up, and I think there's a lot to be said for just being a good father and a good mother.
All right, I think that's a good point, Kevin. Thank you so much for the call. 866-55-PRESS is our telephone number. But we're going to move on from that. If you have any other comments, just find us on Twitter at BP Show. Leave us a comment there. All right, Arthur, a topic that we've talked a lot with you about is the unemployment extension and what the future of that is. We had a little bit of movement last week.
Yes.
Where are we now? Bring us up to speed.
We are still in the same hellhole that we have been in. But stuff is happening, and stuff could happen. I think for months it has seemed like this is just not going to do anything. Congress won't bring the benefits back. It's 2 million people at this point who are potentially eligible for checks if they do reauthorize these long-term benefits. So last week, the State Workforce Agencies Association said in a letter, Congress, if you make us do these back benefits retroactively, it's going to be so hard for us.
And that's one of the issues now, or like the back pay.
This is actually like the issue now.
Yeah.
The administrative difficulty of sending back benefits to people and administering changes that Republicans have wanted. They say it'll be too difficult. So John Boehner takes this letter from this group and says, aha, this bill is unworkable. The Senate should give up on it. And the Senate, of course, is the only place where anything is happening. The thought had been if the Senate passes it, John Boehner will have no choice but to do something and potentially bring it to the floor for a vote where it would probably pass. So Republicans all along have demanded that they add reforms to the system. They get this Senate bill together that adds reforms, and now Republicans are saying, it's too hard to do this. Can't do it. But anyway, unworkable is John Boehner's word. It's not the word of this association. It is, in theory, workable.
Quite workable.
And the Obama administration's Labor Secretary, Thomas Perez, late on Friday evening, because I guess they didn't want anybody to know about this, they sent a letter to Senate leaders saying, hey, I used to run the Maryland State Workforce Agency, so I know a thing or two about this, and you can do this. It's workable. One of the things that was tricky was millionaires. We're going to ban millionaires from receiving unemployment because tax data show like some millionaires have, people with $1 million incomes in the previous year have received unemployment insurance. And which is, Tom Coburn and other senators say that's outrageous. Unemployed people are supposed to be sort of poor.
Right.
Never mind that this is social insurance.
We've painted a picture of what poor people and unemployed people look like, and they don't fit that picture.
So the agencies, the state workforce agencies are like, oh man, figuring out who the millionaires are is going to be so hard. But what the law says is all you have to do is ask people to sign a form that says, I am not a millionaire.
I'm not a millionaire.
That's your whole administrative burden. So I think there is...
they can't do that.
You can argue with these workforce directors, though they are professionals, they aren't partisan hacks, they have legitimate concerns. But I think it's clear this is possible to do, even if it is hard.
Has anybody responded to what Labor Secretary said on Friday afternoon? Has anybody picked that up and...
Well, it made its news.
Right, but I mean,
reporters
I guess
did.
any newsmakers, or lawmakers, I should say.
I think the Democrats are like, look, Tom Perez is an expert. He knows whether this is feasible or not, and he says it's feasible. But the fact remains, John Boehner can still point to the directors of state agencies saying it's hard to do. And we are now in a sort of typical Washington one side against the other situation where really it is he said, she said, because we have not yet gathered a preponderance of experts who've said definitively that this is doable or not. And we also have history. I mean, 6 times they've reauthorized this program after it lapsed and sent back benefits.
And they were able to do the retroactive benefits.
They let it die for 50 days in 2010. And they sent the retroactive benefits. I think we're now up to 80 days.
But still.
Clearly, they've done it before.
They can do this.
It's actually kind of interesting. After all this time, now you're upset that you have to do the back. Like, shouldn't you be even better at this from all the practice you've had?
Right.
But the big difference is they want to ban the millionaires this time and add a few other changes that make it slightly more complicated.
Oh, man.
So Boehner will still be able to say, it's too hard. But the Senate is moving forward. They've filed the bill. They could vote on it if they get through Ukraine this week. They could vote on it this week. And then the program will, if it passes the House, will be in place through May. And then we can have the same fight all over again, although we'll probably be tired of it then and maybe not.
I don't think anybody will have learned their lesson.
Now, Democrats, I think, enjoy fighting about it.
Yeah.
Republicans are uncomfortable, and John Boehner was glad to have this letter where instead of saying, I oppose unemployment insurance for long-term jobless, It's just too hard to do.
Right.
I'm all for this policy if only it were workable.
I wish I could, but unfortunately, there's just no way.
Yeah.
Okay, we got lots more to talk about with Arthur Delane. Arthur Delane, Huffington Post reporter, in studio with us for the rest of this hour, as he is every Tuesday. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today. We will take some of your calls if you have a comment on the unemployment extension, and lots more to talk about with Arthur right after a quick break. My name is Peter Ogburn, in for Bill Press. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. We'll be right back.
Hey, friends, lots to talk about today, lots going on, and we'll get right back to the news of the day and our Bill Press show this morning in just a second. But first, I want to take a little time out once again to ask for your help for all of us here at Free Speech TV. You know, I don't have to tell you how much, I've told you before, how much we love being with you first thing in the morning, bring you the news of the day. We love the fact that you're with us, but you know, we wouldn't be here without you, and we really do need your help. That's what makes the difference on Free Speech TV. We don't get any corporate money. We don't get any government funding. All of our, we don't get any commercial funding. All of our money, all of our revenue for Free Speech TV comes from you, our viewers. I know you appreciate Free Speech TV. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching. You know that you get here totally unfettered, totally independent, just right, straight news of the day with good progressive commentary all day long from me and from Tom Hartman and Stephanie Miller and Amy Goodman, all of our good friends at Free Speech TV. Well, we wouldn't be here without you. It's just as simple as that. You've been very generous in the past. We're very excited that so many of you already, this pledge drive, have stepped up to the plate. We thank you for that, and if you haven't already done so, encourage you to make that big call today to 877-378-8669 and make your pledge. Be as generous as you can to Free Speech TV, just to keep this independent, the one single progressive television network on the air, and that is Free Speech TV. And encourage you to do so. Very, very excited to be able to offer you. If you could just give us $10 pledge, $10 a month, that's $120 a year. You get a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee from our favorite coffee shop downstairs here in our building. If you can up that to $20 a month and a pledge of $240, which we thank you, you'll love the cheese from Cowgirl Creamery. It comes from a part of Marin County where we live in California. I think it's the best cheese in the entire world. We'll send you a selection of Cowgirl Creamery. And for $360 or $30 a month, you get the Cowgirl Creamery, Cowgirl cheese selection, and the Bill Press mug. That's $30 a month or $360. And then, very, very special, and some of you have signed up for this already, if you can afford to help Free Speech with $1,000 and make your way to Washington, D.C., here's what. We will take you out to dinner at one of our favorite restaurants in Washington and invite you to come here the next morning in studio with us to see the show. That'll be a great deal of fun. Hope you'll take advantage of that. Again, the number to make your pledge is 877-378-8669. We depend on you. Please be as generous as you can. Thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, 49 minutes past the hour on this Tuesday, March 25th. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Thank you for tuning in, either on your radio or on television or on the internet, youtube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV. I'm joined by Huffington Post reporter Arthur Delane in studio, as we are every Tuesday, rain or shine, sickness, health, whatever.
Snowstorm.
The spring snowstorm. You kidding me with this?
It had not started when I got here.
I don't think it's going to be that bad, but we are supposed to see some snow. So we had a call from Chicago earlier. Guys said it was snowing right now. It's crazy. Talking about the unemployment benefits, let's go to Rick in Erie, Pennsylvania. Rick called 866-55-PRESS. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning.
What's your take on this?
Hey, Peter. Wonderful show.
Thank you so much.
I was going to call about the video games, but this strikes my nerve even more.
All right.
Listen, I'm about to turn 59 years old. I've been working all my life, and I've been working hard, 2 and 3 jobs at a time. All right? And now I've run into a hard time. I'm unemployed since January of 2013. And I'm at the point now where I'm working, but I'm only working 2 to 3 days a week. So it's hard enough just to feed myself, let alone paying off all my bills. And I don't want to lose, I've gone through all my savings now. I could lose my apartment building here because it's not full, and I'm not getting my unemployment benefits.
So were you one of the million people whose benefits stopped at the end of December?
December 28th, to be exact.
And was that a total drag?
Well, I was able to cope for a while, but I was thinking, it might take 3 or 4 weeks, but this is just ridiculous. I've been working longer than a lot of those congressmen have been breathing.
So since then, you have taken these part-time jobs?
No, I had a part-time job before it started, but I'm only working 2 days a week on a lower pay rate than I was making when I was working full-time.
So what do you think of what they're doing here, having let the benefits end and continuing to fight over them for 3 whole months? What are your thoughts?
I put it this way. When I lost my job, I was doing my job. Their job is to represent, and these people don't represent Americans that vote them in. They represent corporations.
So
that's my point.
So you think it's definitely too soon for Congress to drop the long-term benefits? The economy's still bad enough that people need more than 6 months of state benefits. It has to go a little longer.
Well, especially when you're in a position like I am. As old as I am, nobody's going to hire and train me.
That's right. They'll say, we can't find trained workers. Why isn't the government making it easy for us to hire trained people, but they don't want to invest in doing it themselves?
And I have multi-abilities. I've worked at the Carnegie Science Center. I've worked in foundries. I've worked in furniture shops. I can do almost anything I can put my mind to. But I can't get a job to do it.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear this, Rick. Best of luck to you, sir.
I do have a job that I work 2 or 3 days a week, and it will turn into full-time by summer. But, I've got bills that aren't waiting for that.
Sure. Well, it's a good call, Rick, and I'm sorry you're in that position, buddy. And it's good to hear from people like you, because that way we put a face on the problem. And when you hear these stories about the bickering over the unemployment stuff, this is who we're talking about. We're talking about Rick. We're talking about guys like Rick. So I appreciate the call. Arthur, I'm afraid we're out of time, man. We're always happy to have you in, and I'm glad you came in on this Tuesday. But we're going to take a quick break. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Arthur Delane, Huffington Post reporter. Go follow him on Twitter at Arthur Delane HP.
Please do that.
Please go do that and read his fine reporting at HuffingtonPost.com. And while you're there, sign up for the HuffPost Hill that comes out every day. It's the best little newsletter I get every single day. Go sign up for it.
Good call.
It's phenomenal. All right, Arthur Delane from the Huffington Post. Thanks, buddy. We'll be back. Very, very quick segment. Peter Ogburn in for Bill Press. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, just a little break here and time out to tell you about something very, very important. It's that time again when we turn to you and ask for your help, because we wouldn't be here without you. It's so funny. Everywhere I go, people always say, man, you got 3 hours to fill every morning. How do you do it? How do you keep up with all of it? Well, let me tell you, we work hard at it. I mean, we start at the end of every show. The first thing we do, we just sit right down and start planning the next day's show and get a rough outline kind of where we want to go and what guests we might want to have and what we think the big issues are going to be. And then we go out and all day long, we're watching the news, reading the news, looking at the websites, following everything. I'm down at the White House every day at the briefings and keeping on top of things down there. And then we, meantime, Peter and Elisa particularly are on the phone, booking our guests for the next day. We reconvene in a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon and find out what guests we've got and where we think we're going to go the next day in terms of issues and things we want to talk about. We're also watching that evening, and then the next morning before every show, we reconvene again and sit down and put it finally together. And then we're on the air. So, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we love doing it, and we couldn't do it without you. That's the important thing, because Free Speech TV, no corporate money, no government money. It is all viewer contributions. We work only for you and depend on you and ask you to help us once again as generously as you can. And there's a little incentive to do so. You can go to freespeech.org, make your contribution, freespeech.org. If you can give us $120, that's $10 a month. We will send you a mug, a Bill Press mug, and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop downstairs in this building, for $240 or $20 a month. From Cowgirl Creamery, the best cheese in the world, believe me, made in California, close to our home in California. A special package from Cowgirl Creamery for $360 or $30 a month. You'll get the Cowgirl Creamery selection and a Bill Press mug as well. And a very special treat for those who are able to do so and willing to pledge $1,000 to Free Speech TV. You make your way to Washington anytime with a guest. I will take you and your guest out to dinner, some fabulous restaurant in Washington, and invite you in to watch the show the next morning. So I know you're part of the free speech community, or else you wouldn't be watching this morning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help in the past. And now please ask you to dig in again. You know how important it is. I know how much you depend on the independent expression of progressive opinion you only get on Free Speech TV. Now's the time to help again, and thank you.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. I do appreciate each and every one of you watching, listening, contributing, calling, tweeting. Couldn't do it without you. In the next hour, we have our... Oh, it's Tuesday, so we have Igor Volsky here. How exciting.
Yeah, he's already in the house.
Is he here?
Yeah.
We always worry about Igor. Igor Volsky is going to be joining us in the next hour. Plus, we will get an update on the Malaysian airline situation. And then in the third hour, we have Rebecca Berg from the Washington Examiner and our good friend Margaret Talev from Bloomberg. Meanwhile, shout out to Anthony Weiner. He has a new gig. He is going to be writing a monthly political column for Business Insider. And they have a very creative title. It's just called Winner. But there's an exclamation mark at the end, so you have to pronounce it Winner every time, I guess. I mean, it's not just Wiener. It's you have to excitedly proclaim Winner every time you do it. They talk about how he, they say in their press release, as a native New Yorker, Weiner isn't afraid to throw elbows. However, it isn't all about histrionic and political brawls. So, but they make no mention of the scandal in this, by the way.
Of course.
Which I think is sort of a dodge. But look, Anthony Weiner is a loud, smart guy. He's also kind of stupid. But he knows his stuff, so this should be interesting.
This is the Bill Press Show.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Okay, friends and neighbors, we'll be back to the news of the day in just a moment here. But first, I've got one important question to ask all of you. Have you made your pledge yet to Free Speech TV? And if not, why the hell not? Come on, seriously. You know, we depend on you, we need you, and we count on you to keep us going here at Free Speech TV because you're all we've got. We don't get any corporate money, we don't get any government money, so all of us, you know, depend, Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman, all the rest depend, Stephanie Miller, depend on you to keep us going on Free Speech TV so we can continue the good work that we do, looking over the news every day, what's happening in Washington, what's happening around the country, what's happening around the globe, what are the important issues that we ought to talk about, particularly what are the progressive issues that we ought to be talking about and working on and fighting for. Figuring out the best guests that we can get in studio or on the phone that particular day to help us understand these issues. And then, of course, opening up the phones and opening up the social media lines so you can get involved in the conversation and express your comments and your opinion on what it all means to you and to your family. That's what we do every day. We can only do it with your help. So we ask you to dig in once again. Help keep us on the air here at Free Speech TV. If you can just do $10 a month, that's $120 a year. We'll send you a BP mug, a Bill Press Show mug, and a pound of coffee from our favorite coffee shop just downstairs in this building, Peregrine Coffee. For $20 a month, $240, you will get a very, very special gift indeed. One of the great cheeses from Cowgirl Creamery out on the West Coast, right near where we live in California, Point Reyes Station. And for $30 a month or $360 a year, if you can make that pledge, you'll get the mug and the Cowgirl Creamery. And then as a very, very special item to show you how much we appreciate your support, if you're in a position to pledge $1,000 to Free Speech TV, get yourself to Washington with a friend. Take the plane, take the train, take the bus, drive here, whatever. Carol and I will take you out to dinner the night before, and the next morning we'll invite you to join us in studio to meet the whole team here and to watch a special edition of the Bill Press Show. So with those incentives, hope that you will understand again and be inspired to do the right thing, particularly now at tax time, and take advantage of that this opportunity to get a little write-off on your taxes by helping Free Speech TV. So it's a twofer. You keep progressive television, Free Speech TV on the air, and you get the tax benefit as well. But again, no government money, no corporate money. Here at Free Speech TV, we depend on you. Thanks so much for your help.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot. I want you to just push the area.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Thank you. And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
You got it. It is the Bill Press Show, Tuesday, March 25. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Thank you for tuning in and watching or listening on your favorite progressive radio station or on Free Speech TV, seen on DirecTV and Dish Network, or on youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR TV. We got you covered, man. Anywhere you want to watch or listen, we've got you. We're on the iHeartRadio app. We're on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn. We got podcasts on the web.
Wow.
What else do you want from us? What else do you want from us? We're working our tails off trying to get you this content. It's Tuesday, which means we have our good friend Igor Volsky in the studio. Igor, Think Progress Managing Editor. Follow him on Twitter at Igor Volsky and read his fine work at thinkprogress.org. In fact, why not make it your homepage?
Please do.
Why not make it
Please
your homepage?
do. We
Igor,
highly recommend it.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for coming in, running the board today, as she always does, very ably. Elisa Murphy. Elisa, good morning.
Hey.
And if you call us at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377, the bubbly voice on the other end of the line belongs to Alicia Cruz. Alicia, thank you for coming in. And, of course, if you're watching us on the many outlets that you can see this fine program, you are doing so because of the good work of Cyprian Bolding, who is here today keeping us live on the video stream. Igor, I know you have a lot of stuff to talk about, but we're going to spend all show talking about the Malaysian airline situation.
Yes.
The entire show.
Yeah, well, I have some exclusive information.
Yes, breaking news?
Yeah. They don't know where it is yet.
Breaking news.
It's somewhere in the ocean, they're saying.
Look, this CNN situation is driving me crazy this morning. So in case you missed it, we're going to talk about this a little bit more later on in the hour with Simon Denyer from the Washington Post. So the Malaysian Prime Minister yesterday came out and said, the plane is gone. It crashed. No one survived. They don't have any physical proof necessarily, but they found enough evidence to say that this is not a rescue mission. Okay, told the families via text message.
It was a text message.
They did a mass text to the families.
Oh.
Well, here's the thing. I'm a defender of the Malaysian Airlines CEO for doing that. Because what else are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Well, it is 200 people. You have to inform them in some way.
What are you going to do?
I mean,
how do you tell them all?
Phone calls, I suppose.
But here's the thing.
I mean, there's just something very impersonal about.
I don't disagree with you, but here's the thing. Here's where I'm coming from. You make 10 phone calls out of the 250 you got to make. Someone's going to tell the news media. The media is going to obviously run with it. The rest of the families are going to wonder what the hell's going on. Why didn't I get a phone call?
And they're not all in one place.
They're not all in one place.
Okay.
So, and as Arthur Delane was mentioning in the last hour, I don't think that Americans understand just how prevalent text messaging is in other countries. I mean, it's just like they use the text messaging and things like that way more than we do.
Well, at least it wasn't a Snapchat. Fine.
They didn't Snapchat it. They didn't Snapchat it.
Like Vines it or something.
That would have been wrong.
Yeah.
That would have been bad. But the coverage here from CNN all morning long, right, has been breaking overnight. There is nothing to report. Breaking overnight.
And it's not even on the TV. I get these CNN breaking news alerts every hour.
Holy cow.
Of a new breaking non-development in the story. I'm thinking of unsubscribing.
Yeah,
because
I had
out
that
of this
same
world.
thought yesterday. I said, you know what? Too much. Because what we're getting now are breaking news things saying the flight search is on hold. They didn't find anything. Breaking news. Flight search still on hold. They didn't find anything. It's like, guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, they have to stop.
And some of it has gotten so crazy. The Daily Show last night talked about, the CNN is the channel that actually gave some credence to the idea that it might have been a black hole that sucked the plane up, and talked about supernatural occurrences. So last night on the Daily Show, Jon Stewart had some fun with CNN's coverage.
Investigators sometimes use
Let me stop for just a second, because they start out by playing a clip from CNN. So this is on the Daily Show, but they just start out with a clip from CNN. Go ahead.
Investigators sometimes use psychics. Why hasn't anyone considered the services of a credible psychic specializing in missing persons? I mean, it sounds incredible, but they have been used before.
Yeah. I don't know while we're at it. Why not use that octopus that always predicts the World Cup victor? Why don't we strap some wings to Wolf Blitzer and just let him loose? Because...
Is that already wearing wings?
In order to catch a plane, you must become a plane. CNN's missing airline obsession not only doubled their primetime ratings, it itself became news, because the only thing less likely than an airplane disappearing out of the sky is CNN's ratings doubling.
Yeah.
Well, doubling's not a big feat for CNN. Let's be honest these days.
CNN.
But look, when Jeff Zucker took over, he said he wanted to expand the definition of news, which I assumed would mean more infotainment.
Yeah.
But really is news that's not news and reporting it all day is expanding the definition.
They didn't so much expand news as it was just extremely narrowing it, where it's just like one topic for 3 weeks.
Yes.
I don't think he knows what expand means.
By expand, I really mean narrow.
I'm sorry. I didn't.
Did I say expand? I meant narrow.
Oh, sorry about that. All right, Igor Volsky is with us. Igor, let's talk about over the weekend.
Anything
else?
Yeah.
Anything else other than the air crash or Malaysian airline disappearance? Over the weekend, it was the 4-year anniversary of Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, whatever you want to call it, health care for everyone. It's been 4 years, so it's about time for the Republicans to maybe offer up a new plan, right?
I guess.
Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. Something's coming, possibly.
Yeah.
Look, I think, are in a really kind of rough spot here, because you're in a situation now, 4 years later, 5 million Americans have Obamacare in some way, shape, or form. It's probably going to be closer to 6 at the end of this month. And Republicans continue to say, look, we want to repeal this law. But it's hard for them, I think, to come to a voter and say, give me the Aetna card, the Blue Cross Blue Shield card that's in your wallet because of Obamacare, and we'll give you what? Right? Nothing. So they are trying to come up with this kind of tapestry of different ideas that they floated since like 2008, since George W. Bush had some of these ideas, then McCain had some of these ideas, then Romney had some of these ideas, but there was no big leadership proposal. They did have something in 2009, just as a kind of a replacement for Obamacare. The Congressional Budget Office, which looks and scores legislation, said it's going to cover 3 million people. And the question is, if they kind of repackage that and they put that up against current law, which is 30 million people, that's a bad comparison.
Yeah.
So what do? And they're in this rift. They have this internal problem. Can they just get away with hitting the law and criticizing and chipping away at it? Or do they need something substantive to offer? The problem is anything substantive is going to really alienate, I think, a lot of conservatives, because to get those coverage numbers up, you got to do universal coverage. You got to spend some money. You got to have some requirements. You can't just let the free market do what it wants to do. So, they're in a bit of a bind 4 years later.
You have a great piece up on thinkprogress.org, why you shouldn't believe the hype about the GOP's Obamacare alternative. I also think that the optics as they say, are not great. That they've voted to repeal Obamacare.
51 times in
50,
part, in
however,
whole, yeah,
all these times, right? And yet here we are. It took them 4 years to actually get a quote-unquote serious alternative on the table.
Over the weekend, I had a great weekend, by the way. Thank you for asking. I put together,
Igor, how was your weekend?
Yeah, it was wonderful. I put together an 8,000-plus word timeline of the GOP's 4-year campaign to repeal Obamacare. This was my celebration of the anniversary.
A little rest and relaxation
how I
over the weekend. I like that.
Yeah, properly.
I like how you kick back.
And it was very relaxing. And, I realized that, initially, it was interesting. Initially, in 2010, as soon as it passed, they didn't really want to repeal the whole thing. In fact, you had leaders of the party, Boehner, Cantor, kind of being really hesitant. Can we really take this whole thing away? Maybe we can do bits and pieces, but not the law as a whole, because parts of it seem to be popular. They tried to take credit for the popular parts of the law. You remember all that.
Yeah, I do, yes.
Now, over time, they kind of held hands with the most conservative members of the party, and now they, of course, want to repeal the whole thing. But what really struck me in putting this together is the pettiness of it all. Is 4 years later, we're still having the same conversations, and they're making the same arguments that they made 4 years ago when this thing first started, as if nothing has changed, right?
Right.
But I think what's going to smack them in the face is 5 million people have coverage. That's what's changed. And so moving forward, even though they say they're going to continue repealing and yada, 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 and talking about it in 2014 and 2016 and for the foreseeable future, I think it's going to get harder from here on out.
Yep, absolutely.
I think they're going to need to change tone.
I think you're absolutely right. That's an excellent way to look at it. And when you look at, let's be clear here. The rollout of the healthcare was not phenomenal.
Didn't go very well.
It was a problem. There were some flaws, and the White House has certainly owned that. And I don't know that they downplayed it that much. I think they certainly just hit it head on. But I think that no matter what gets thrown their way, they can always just say 5 million people, as of now, right? Probably more, almost certainly more. 5 million people now have health care. Next.
Yeah. What do you guys have?
Yeah. Next.
Exactly.
What else?
What else?
What else are we going to do here? 5 million people have coverage. Boom.
They did 5 million people in 6 months. Republicans were going to do 3 million people in 10 years.
Yeah, right. Like, come on.
Exactly.
Like, who's winning that argument? On that issue, so the Supreme Court is now going to be taking a look at this religious liberty part of the contraception mandate here in the healthcare law. This is the Hobby Lobby case. What happens here? What are we looking at?
Well, the court, no one can predict, as what Jeffrey Toobin learned. No one really knows how they're going to come down when it comes to healthcare. And here the big question is, of course, can for-profit companies deny people access to certain healthcare services? In this case, it's contraception, that these folks have a religious Christian objection to providing certain forms of contraception to women, and they don't think they should be able to do it as part of their healthcare benefits package, that they should be exempt from it. The problem here, though, is in this case, yes, it's contraception, but you can have religious objections to all kinds of services, to providing HIV treatment to someone because he's gay, for instance, if you have a religious objection to that. Blood transfusions are against certain religions. Some people don't believe in health insurance. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And I think the court is really going to have to grapple with, if we allow Hobby Lobby and certain religious for-profit companies not to offer contraception, does this open the door for companies now being religious entities, for companies, having some kind of soul and being treated just like a person, as Mitt Romney famously said, corporations are people, my friends.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it seems like institutionalized discrimination, if you go down that path, it certainly opens the door to it. So that's pretty scary. A good piece on thinkprogress.org. You can read there by Ian Millhiser that sort of goes into that. We'll tweet out a link to that as well. All right. Tuesday, March 25th. We're going to take a quick break. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today, as we do with every Tuesday. We're joined by Igor Volsky, Think Progress Managing Editor. A lot more to talk about. Give us a call, 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, we'll get back to the news of the day in just a moment here. But first, I got a couple of questions for you. First one, are you enjoying Free Speech TV? Well, I know the answer to that one. If you weren't, you wouldn't keep watching. We appreciate that. Good to have you with us. And the second question is, since you enjoy Free Speech TV so much, have you done your share to keep us on the air? Have you made your pledge? If so, we thank you because so many of you have. But if not, let's get on it. Do it today. It is so important. Look, again, I don't have to tell you how special Free Speech TV is. I'm very, very proud to be part of it. Less than a year right now. But it's the only place you can find such great hosts, Tom Hartman, Stephanie Miller, Amy Goodman. I hope I'm one of them. And it's all content-free, no commercials, the only truly independent and progressive cable channel that is out there. You won't find it anywhere else. But the thing is, we depend on you. That's the only way we can stay on the air. We get no corporate money, no government money, no sponsor money, right? It is all from our viewers that keep us going. So we ask you to give us a call today, 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org and make your pledge. And as a little reward for making your pledge, if you can do us this $10 a month, $120, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug. You can have your coffee with us every day, and a pound of coffee from Washington's favorite little coffee shop, which is right downstairs in our building. It's called Peregrine Coffee. If you can afford $20 a month, $240 pledge, you will get a very, very special treat from one of my favorite little businesses out in West Marin, California, West Marin County, from Cowgirl Creamery, a selection of their best cheeses. I think they're the best cheeses on the planet, and I've lived in Switzerland, so I know. Cowgirl Creamery for $240. For $360 or $30 a month, we'll send you the Cowgirl Creamery and a mug. And here's something very, very special. If you can do it and you can afford $1,000 for Free Speech TV, then make your way to Washington as a little special treat. I'll take you out to dinner with Carol, and we'll invite you and a guest in to watch the show the next morning here in our studio in downtown Washington, D.C. So those are just our ways of saying thank you ahead of time to you. Please do it. Please consider it today. And again, the number to call is 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org. We love bringing the show to you every morning, love being with you every day, and ask you to be with us by making your pledge as soon as you can and as generously as you can. Thank you so much.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Yes, indeed, it is the Bill Press Show. Live on your favorite progressive radio station. live on Free Speech TV on DirecTV and Dish Network, and live on YouTube, youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR. Good grief. What else do you want from us, man? I mean, we're
many
everywhere.
points of access.
We're everywhere. It is Tuesday, so we're joined by our good friend, Igor Volsky. Prince Igor.
Thank you. Please, get it right.
Online at thinkprogress.org and on Twitter at Igor Volsky. A must follow.
Yes,
Twitter,
I agree.
All kinds of good stuff. Hey, so let's talk about this story on thinkprogress.org about Kansas, the state of Kansas. Yet another assault on women's health in Kansas. What's the latest?
Yeah, what's the matter? What's the matter with Kansas? I always ask. Look, this, I think back in like 2011 or 2012, we saw this real onslaught of states kind of pushing up all of this anti-abortion, anti-contraception campaign. And it kind of really shook the nation, I think, to the point where the number of anti-abortion, anti-contraception bills increased by something like 200% over what it had been a year ago.
Which is amazing when you think about the fact that it was like 2012, 2013. These are all things that I remember hearing when I was growing up.
Yeah.
These battles that a lot of people thought that they had won.
Yeah, exactly. Have
just
now come
reared
back.
their head back
and it's
again.
not even about so much about abortion. I mean, that is obviously a big part of limiting when you can get an abortion, how many visits to the doctor, whether or not you have to see an ultrasound before you have an abortion, closing down abortion clinics by trying to overregulate them. All of this is happening. But it's also about contraception, which is something we all thought was decided back in Connecticut versus Griswold in 1963 or something, 64.
I was a very young man then.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Now, Kansas has this thing where they may force doctors to report women's miscarriages to the state, to the health department. And it's all of these things really, you talk about a war on women, and Democrats use this as a big kind of talking point in their politics to get voters out and all that. And they get a lot of kind of heat for, making it all political. But when you look at the laws and the bills in these states treating women as if they're children, as if they can't make a decision for their own reproductive health, that they need to be confronted with all the facts, and they need to wait a certain period of time, and they need to report this to the government and that to the government. From folks who believe that you should take the government out of the bedroom and make decisions for yourself and limited government, this is kind of the one area where it's kind of okay for them to regulate how women behave when it comes to their reproductive health.
It seems cruel. It seems condescending.
Oh, yeah.
Of this whole idea that, hey, little lady, before you can make a decision, you have to have an ultrasound, or we have to probe you, or you have to report a miscarriage. I mean, that's so cruel for someone who's
and
gone
you talk
through
to
that.
medical professionals, and they say all of these things are unnecessary.
Yes, exactly. All right. We just
out of time.
flew by,
Already.
Igor. We're out of time. Come join us again next Tuesday, will you?
The plain mystery continues.
It continues.
That's what we learned.
Igor Volsky, managing editor for Think Progress. Thanks for coming in.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, we'll be back to the news and your commentary and your comments in just a moment. But first, let me just be very, very straight with you. We need your help. You know what Free Speech TV is all about? We're very, very lucky and very proud to be part of it. But it's the only place that you can find completely independent, unfettered, no restrictions, news and commentary from the left all day long, with no corporate money, no commercials, no government money. But without all of that, we depend on you. And we ask for your help and need your help this time of the year. By the way, it's a good time to make a contribution because you can take it off on your taxes. Don't forget that. We know you love free speech. If you didn't, you wouldn't be watching. But again, we can only stay on the air. The only source of funding we have is your help. So many of you have helped already. We thank you for that. And for those of you who haven't yet, you intend to do so, you just didn't get around to it, do it today. Call that number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org, freespeech.org, and make whatever pledge you can. Now, I hope you do it out of the goodness of your heart, but maybe just as a little extra incentive, we'll offer you a couple of special premiums. If you can pledge just $10 a month, $120 a year, we'll give you a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee from our favorite coffee shop, Peregrine, right down on the street level in this building. For $20 a month, $240 a year, very, very special. The best cheese in the world, take it from me, made out in Point Reyes Station, California, from Cowgirl Creamery. They're wonderful, wonderful people. Send you a Cowgirl Creamery a special item. And for $360 a year or $30 a month, you'll get the mug and the Cowgirl Creamery. Now, here's something very, very special. Those of you who can, make a very special pledge of $1,000 to Free Speech TV. You get your way to Washington. We've got a deal for you. Carol and I will take you and a guest out to dinner and then invite you here into the studio the next morning to watch the show with all of us. So whatever pushes your button, please be as generous as you can. And again, do it today at that number, 877-378-8669. Take advantage of that tax opportunity to get your tax contribution. And most importantly, to show your support and show your help for Free Speech TV. We are there with you and for you every single day of the week. We need you to be there for us this one special time of the year. Thanks for your help.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show. Live on your radio, your TV, and your internet. Also, go follow us on Twitter, won't you? At BP Show, You can follow me on Twitter, at Peter Ogburn, Ogburn. Find me there. Tweeting about all kinds of things. I do this show. I do some food writing. I usually give out lots of parenting advice on there. I mentioned the other day on Twitter. It was a beautiful day out on Saturday. I was telling my kids, I said, "Oh, it's so nice out. You should go outside and play." Back when I was your age, we'd go play outside and we'd sit around and read a book instead of watching TV all day and play video games. Which, by the way, is a terrible, ridiculous lie. That's just not true. Speaking of weather, I can always tell it's spring. It's March 25th. It's almost April, and Washington, D.C. is expected to get some snow today. I know Chicago. We heard from Chicago earlier. They said it was snowing right now in Chicago. So Chicago, if that's the case, man, I feel for you. But I always know how bad the weather's going to be by the glee in my father's voice when he calls me to let me know that there is no such thing as global warming because it's cold. I got that call yesterday. Hey, man, I see y'all's going to get some snow. Y'all's going to get some snow. Global warming, huh? You still got Obama out there talking about global warming. I mean, that's the classic dopey response to global warming, right? Like, oh, it's colder than usual where I live right now. Therefore, global warming must be a total hoax. Also, this is just too comical to let pass. A little bit of sports news from the NFL. So, if you've been following some of the moves in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles said farewell to Michael Vick. Looks like Michael Vick, he's going to the New York Jets, but they had a starting quarterback by the name of Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez said farewell to the New York Jets, and it looks like he might be going to the Philadelphia Eagles. So they might just be swapping places there. Who knows? We'll keep an eye on that. Also monitoring the situation on the Malaysian Airlines. I think we could call it a crash now. The Malaysian Prime Minister yesterday coming out and saying that the plane did crash in the southern Indian Ocean. They have not recovered any pieces of the plane yet. However, they sort of said that, it is indisputable that it went down and no one survived. In fact, yesterday they sent a mass text message to the families of the passengers on the plane, said, quoting now, "We have to assume beyond reasonable doubt that MH370 has been lost and that none of those on board have survived. We must now accept all evidence to suggest the plane went down in the southern Indian Ocean." And so you've got some people giving them some grief because, they sent out a text message, which I understand a text message is not ideal. But what else are you going to do? I mean, you can't just, you can't call all the families, right? There's 200, let's say 250 people that were on that plane, 238 or something like that. Are you going to call all the family members? By the time you call 10 of them, it's going to be out to the news media. And then everybody else is going to wonder why they didn't get a phone call. Not to mention the fact that in other countries, they do use text messaging more than we use it here. So it's not a totally tacky way to communicate. And combine all that with the fact that it's been, a couple weeks now. I think whatever hope the families had at one point had certainly waned. So yesterday's announcement from Malaysia was not entirely unexpected. Meanwhile, CNN just continues to carry on with the plane coverage, even though the search has been called off for now because of the rough seas. But they're going to keep plugging along with that coverage on CNN. Meanwhile, for some actual conversation and some actual reporting on the story, we're joined now by Washington Post China Bureau Chief Simon Denyer. We've talked to him a couple times for the latest on the Malaysian Air. I think we can now call it the Malaysian Air crash. Simon, good morning.
Good morning. Good evening here. Good morning there.
That's right. I always forget about that. Well, so give us the latest. It looks like the search for the day has been called off because of the conditions on the ocean, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, it's not entirely unexpected because this is, as we know, the Roaring Forties. It's an area of heavy winds and huge swells. And we're in March now. Come May, it gets into winter, and this is really, really inhospitable territory. But we've been waiting for this weather front to come through. They were trying to rush to get as much searching as they could in. The weather will come and go. I mean, there'll be probably a bit of good weather tomorrow, and then probably another front coming through soon. So it's going to come and go. It's going to be a bit stop-start, I think, because this is an area of the world where you do get bad weather.
I mean, that was my next question, Simon, is because, the weather, it's certainly hard to predict. I imagine it's even harder to predict when you're out in the middle of the Indian Ocean. So what I don't want to sound like too much of a pessimist here, but what hope is there of actually getting a prolonged search in terms of getting some sort of recovery out there?
Right. I mean, the truth is it's anybody's guess. I mean, I was actually on a U.S. plane flying out of here, searching in the northern part of the Indian Ocean yesterday, and it's pretty sophisticated stuff they've got on board. They've got pretty good spotters. They're excellent looking. You do, when you're with them, you do get the impression that if there's something there, they'll find it. But having said that, someone spots something, and then this is a big stretch of ocean. And if there are swells and there are waves, then, you can spot something and then you can go back and you can't see it anymore. So it's incredibly difficult work, and they have a very short window of time on site to actually do some coherent searching before they have to fly back again.
Yeah, I saw yesterday they had there was one image that I saw on TV that looked like it might be a piece of wreckage, but then on closer examination it was a whale carcass that was floating. and right. It's so hit or miss when you're dealing with an area like that.
Right, exactly. I mean, you can see. So on this Orion I was on yesterday, we saw some stuff 7 miles away, and the radar kind of picked it out, and we took a look, and the camera zoomed in 7 miles away, and it first of all looked like absolutely. It looked like a bit of seaweed at first, and then we kind of just kept zooming, and it was a huge pod of dolphins.
That's incredible. That's how. That's just fascinating to me. That you talk. The technology that you're mentioning is mind-boggling, and yet we still haven't found anything.
Right, absolutely. I was absolutely impressed by what I saw. They spot something 30 miles away, and they've zoomed in, and you can see the trawler. You can almost see the guys on board. Not quite, but
wow.
These cameras are absolutely amazing. So, yeah, the truth is they have very sophisticated planes. They have trained people on board them, but it's just incredibly difficult. It's a huge stretch of ocean, and every time you see something, the problem is every time you see something, it drifts away before you can, the ships need to get there. That's the problem. The ships need to then, when you see something, the ships need to go and take a closer look and fish it out of the ocean. Well, yesterday we saw some stuff, and we were expecting it to be fished out of the ocean, and now they can't go back. And, where's that stuff going to be tomorrow?
Yeah.
They're going to have to start again. So I think they'll get there. I actually do think they'll get there, but it's going to be touch and go, I think, at times.
Simon Denyer, Washington Post China bureau chief, joins us on the phone. Simon, let me ask you about yesterday, the announcement that the Malaysian Prime Minister went ahead and made the announcement. We think that the plane did go down. There were no survivors. And what was sort of the tipping point to push him to make that statement at this point in the game?
Well, it's supposed to be some analysis, some supposedly very complicated, groundbreaking analysis of the radar data, which apparently uses the Doppler effect to work out. I don't know if you ever remember physics at high school, or the Doppler effect is what makes an ambulance, the pitch of sound the ambulance makes as it passes you, change as it passes you. To my mind, actually, to be honest with you, that's not groundbreaking science or math, actually. Right. And I've been saying, and I will continue to say, they ought to release the data. They should have released the data a long time ago and crowdsourced analysis for it. And I suspect if they had done, they'd have known a lot quicker where this plane went down, because, this is more than 2 weeks since the plane went down, and Inmarsat has had that data since day 2.
Yep.
The American government has had it. The Australia, and so my view has always been, the data should have been absolutely transparent and out there. And I suspect that if that had happened, we'd have come to this conclusion a little bit sooner. And that's important for the families, and it's important for finding the plane. It could have been important for finding survivors, although now we think, that probably nobody could have survived that long.
Yeah. All right, Simon Denyer, I appreciate all the good work on this and for joining us and keeping us up to date. Phenomenal stuff from you. Washington Post China bureau chief Simon Denyer. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. I'm actually going back to Beijing tonight on Malaysia Airlines. So wish me luck. Unfortunately, it's not called Flight 370 anymore.
Okay, good. Yeah, seriously. Safe travels. Let us know how that turns out, man. We'll talk to you again soon. I do appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill. Bye-bye.
All right, Simon Denyer. You can follow him on Twitter at Simon Denyer and online at WashingtonPost.com. Tough situation out there. We have more stuff to talk about in the next segment. Will we see an end to the NSA's bulk data collection? Maybe. We'll talk about that next on The Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, lots to talk about today, lots going on, and we'll get right back to the news of the day and our Bill Press Show this morning in just a second. But first, I want to take a little time out once again to ask for your help for all of us here at Free Speech TV. You know, I don't have to tell you how much, I've told you before, how much we love being with you first thing in the morning, bring you the news of the day. We love the fact that you're with us, but you know, we wouldn't be here without you, and we really do need your help. That's what makes the difference on Free Speech TV. We don't get any corporate money. We don't get any government funding. All of our, we don't get any commercial funding. All of our money, all of our revenue for Free Speech TV comes from you, our viewers. I know you appreciate Free Speech TV. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching. You know that you get here totally unfettered, totally independent, just right, straight news of the day with good progressive commentary all day long from me and from Tom Hartman and Stephanie Miller and Amy Goodman, all of our good friends at Free Speech TV. Well, we wouldn't be here without you. It's just as simple as that. You've been very generous in the past. We're very excited that so many of you already this pledge drive have stepped up to the plate. We thank you for that, and if you haven't already done so, I encourage you to make that big call today to 877-378-8669 and make your pledge. Be as generous as you can to Free Speech TV, just to keep this independent, the one single progressive television network on the air, and that is Free Speech TV. And encourage you to do so. Very, very excited to be able to offer you. If you could just give us $10 pledge $10 a month, that's $120 a year. You get a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee from our favorite coffee shop downstairs here in our building. If you can up that to $20 a month and a pledge of $240, which we thank you, you'll love the cheese from Cowgirl Creamery. It comes from a part of Marin County where we live in California. I think it's the best cheese in the entire world. We'll send you a selection of Cowgirl Creamery. And for $360 or $30 a month, you get the Cowgirl Creamery, Cowgirl cheese selection, and the Bill Press mug. That's $30 a month or $360. And then, very, very special, and some of you have signed up for this already, if you can afford to help Free Speech with $1,000 and make your way to Washington, D.C., here's what. We will take you out to dinner at one of our favorite restaurants in Washington and invite you to come here the next morning in studio with us to see the show. That'll be a great deal of fun. Hope you'll take advantage of that. Again, the number to make your pledge is 877-378-8669. We depend on you. Please be as generous as you can. Thank you.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, it is the Bill Press Show. Hey, it is the Bill Press Show. I don't know what it just came out of nowhere. All right, it's the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Thank you. By the way, I can report, according to Twitter, that there are flurries outside the Supreme Court right now here in Washington.
Oh, DC. Really? So
happy
it is.
Spring, MFers.
Oh, no.
You've got snow. Get out of here. Driving me crazy. We're going to be talking about that. Hopefully, we can all make it out of here in one piece today. At this point, we're so used to snow. I mean, it's too much. It's too much. It was like a week. It was a week ago. I got 10 inches of snow.
I know.
10 inches of snow a week ago. It's gone. There's nothing. There's nothing there. And so now we're going to get more snow.
I hope it's not like last time. It was pretty thick snow last time.
It won't be like that.
It's warm.
It won't be like that. It's too warm. Although let's not call 30 degrees a week before April warm. That's kind of garbage. That is garbage weather.
That's when you know you've had a winter.
This is like, if you want to know what the weather is going to be like, just read the Book of Revelations. That's what's happening right now. That's the world we live in. All right, so we talk a lot about the NSA and the bulk data collection, all of the snooping and spying on American citizens that's been taking place. The president, a couple weeks ago, I guess, came out and said that we're going to take a look at how we do things with the NSA. We're going to take a look at how we collect this data, what we're using it for, how we store it. He put some of this back on Congress. He said, I want Congress to take a look at this and come up with a plan on what we do with this data and the intelligence that we gather. And he put a date of March 28th, which is this week. It's Friday. And I'm reading here from Charlie Savage. This is the New York Times, I believe, right? This piece?
Yeah, it came out last night.
Yeah, this New York Times piece. I'm just going to read straight from his piece. Under the proposal, which is one that they're going to put out here later on this week, the NSA would end its systematic collection of data about Americans' calling habits. The bulk records would stay in the hands of phone companies, which would not be required to retain the data for any longer than they normally would. And the NSA could obtain specific records only with permission from a judge using a new kind of court order. Now, that is a big change from what it has been. And I think that a lot of Americans have been sort of like, okay, now that we know what's going on, now that we know we're being spied on, at least we know. But, I mean, I'm of a mind that, like, if you're my phone company and the government says, we would like Mr. Ogbur's phone records, or they say, oh, okay, here. I'm not okay with that. And the problem is they all do it. All of them. So that will no longer be the case. Your phone company does not have to give that stuff to the NSA, to the U.S. government. It doesn't have to happen. They're not going to keep all this. I mean, the reports that have been coming out over the last several months of what kind of data, how much data they've been keeping and watching, from phone calls to contacts to hacking into computers to using your video camera, your little webcam on your laptop. Terrifying. Sorry, I know. Everyone gets all upset because we dare disagree with that idea. That snooping on American citizens is a terrible idea. I think that is not okay. So this proposal looks like it's going to cut back on a lot of that, and I'm okay with that. You want to come after me and get my information? Fine. Go get a court order. Prove that you need it. Prove that you need to get my stuff. That's what they're going to have to do. I'm reading again from the Charlie Savage piece from the New York Times. As part of the proposal, the administration has decided to ask the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, that's FISA, to renew the program as it exists for at least one more 90-day cycle. But under the plan the administration has developed and now advocates, it would later undergo major changes. So you're basically looking at this getting like another little reprieve for like 90 days. And then after that, we're looking at a total change of how the NSA operates. Good. I don't think the progressives elected Barack Obama to be the president that would snoop on American citizens and gather up their data. I don't think that's what they wanted when they voted for this president. So I'm glad he's righting that wrong. 866-55-PRESS is our telephone number. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill. I'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
In 1920s America, the Great Depression effectively erased consumer demand. Struggling manufacturers needed new ways to get people buying again. Innovative production processes like stamping and use of molds allowed them to use new materials for their designs. Products using vinyl, chrome, aluminium and plywood began appearing. American industrial designers began introducing streamlined, efficient shapes that shouted progress. Bel Geddes pioneered what we now refer to as utilitarian art. Things that had little reason to look sleek, now all of a sudden did. At the 1939 World Fair featuring Bel Geddes' immensely popular Futurama exhibit, a new era of American industrial design proudly claimed to be building the world of tomorrow. Americans found great positivity in these futuristic forms. Yay. Things were looking up. American industrial designers realised that by making objects look great, people simply wanted them more. From cars to kitchen appliances, the most influential society on earth was spending money again. Mass consumption had arrived. Advertisers finally had lots to talk about. Personal taste could be expressed through the things you bought. Style became equally as important as function. Chair designers like Eames and Saarinen didn't just design seating, they created desirable lifestyles. People behind the products suddenly were stars. Everyone wanted to know who they were. Raymond Loewy was one of the shining lights of American industrial design. His face ended up on every coffee table in the nation. Toothpaste packaging promised whiter teeth. Washing powder packaging promised whiter whites. Who knew such simple household objects would shape the tastes and ambitions of an entire society? American industrial design improved America, functionally, culturally and intellectually, and exported it around the globe.
Someone who's about to drop.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, youtube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV. We normally do the president's schedule here, but frankly, there's just too much to cover, and we're going to cover that in the next hour with Margaret Talev from Bloomberg. But basically, what you need to know for now is he continues his Euro trip. I did want to get in this story. If you haven't heard or you don't recognize the name James Rebhorn, you definitely recognize his face. Well-known character actor. Probably best known these days for being the father of Claire Danes on Homeland. But he's been all kinds of stuff. He passed away a couple days ago. He's 65 years old. He had melanoma. But what I love is that he wrote his own obituary, which I want to do that, by the way. This is now a trend. He ended his obituary. Jim was fortunate enough to earn his living doing what he loved. He was a professional actor. His unions were always there for them, and he will remain forever grateful for the benefits he gained as a result of the union struggle. He was a lucky man in every way.
Oh, that's really nice.
He wrote his own obituary. Huh? That's a pretty cool move.
Yeah.
So I'm going to write my own obituary.
Uh-oh, better start now.
Screw you guys. I'll write my own. Better start now? What does that mean?
This is the Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to
7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power,
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
For more than 18 months, the members of AFSCME 3299 have been working to secure a new contract with the University of California. With workplace injuries at UC skyrocketing and government fines related to safety deficiencies at UC hospitals skyrocketing, Local 3299's top priority has been safe staffing at the workplace.
We've been short of people for the last 5 years.
They're stretching us thin, which the students are suffering, the faculty suffering, and the patients are suffering.
While UC administrators have granted these standards to other UC workers, they have refused to make similar accommodations for AFSCME represented workers who perform the most physically demanding labor at UC.
It takes a whole team to take care of the patient. It's not just the RN and it's not just the doctor. The nurses were able to win a great contract, and AFSCME workers, the patient care workers and service workers, they're part of the team and they deserve that same fair contract too.
We take pride into working for the university, and we feel like the university doesn't value the work that we do.
But the second-class treatment of AFSCME workers doesn't end at safety and staffing. On wages, benefits, and other issues, UC refuses to offer AFSCME 3299 members the same respect they afford their other workers.
I have 3 jobs because what the university pays me is just not enough to make a living for my family and myself.
99% of service workers in the UC system make so little money that they're eligible for at least some form of public assistance. At the same time, the number of executives in the UC system that have crossed over into making at least $250,000 a year has more than doubled since 2008.
The University of California has long been a beacon of hope and progress for those struggling for dignity and fairness. With such a proud history, it is disturbing to see the leadership of the university treat its lowest paid workers like second-class citizens.
All workers at the university deserve equal treatment.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Good morning. Welcome to The Bill Press Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tuesday, March 25. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Bill is in Hawaii. We have snow here in Washington, D.C. The worst. The worst. I'm hosting today. Of course, I couldn't do it myself, so I brought in our good friend, Washington Examiner political correspondent Rebecca Berg. Rebecca, good morning.
Good to be here, Peter. Thanks
Did the
for having
sled dogs
me.
arrive with no problems to get you through the snow here today?
They did. It was such an easy commute. It goes so much faster.
Happy spring, I guess. Snow flurries
Can you
outside.
call it spring?
No. You know what? That's a good point. We should just not call it spring.
That's giving this weather
It's
too
just
much credit.
Winter plus.
Winter
This
plus.
is what it is.
Yes.
Follow Rebecca on Twitter at Rebecca G. Berg, and online you can read her wonderful reporting at WashingtonExaminer.com. It is the Bill Press Show. I am ably assisted by a team of wonderful producers. Elisa Murphy running the board this morning. Elisa, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
How long have you been on this job now, Elisa? You've been with us for a couple of months.
Yeah, about a few months now.
All going well? Any
A lot of good
complaints you want to air out on the air now
snowstorms.
that Bill's gone?
No. It's
You've been
it's your tremendous work, Peter. That's what really makes it all worthwhile.
Definitely, right?
Well played.
Yeah. Alicia Cruz is screening your phone calls. If you call 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377, you will talk to Alicia Cruz. And if you are watching us on the video stream right now, you are doing so because of the great work of Mr. Cyprian Bolding, who gets us on air and makes us look as good as he can. He's with the raw materials here, he's got his work cut out for him. So, Elisa, you played this clip for me earlier today. This is infuriating. This drives me nuts. So there's, Girl Scout cookies.
Oh, I know that.
You see them.
I'm familiar.
Right. Everyone knows Girl Scout cookies. So this girl, she's in Kansas. Is that right?
Actually, Oklahoma City.
Close enough.
Somewhere in flyover country.
Exactly. Somewhere around there.
Somewhere I've never been.
So she set the record for the most Girl Scout cookies sold. How many did she sell? Like 18,000 boxes?
18,107 boxes.
All in her region?
Yeah.
In 1 year.
In 1 year. That's what she sold.
That is bonkers.
So ABC caught up with her. They interviewed her. Here she is. Go ahead, play the clip.
For the past 2 years, I beat the state record, and it just seemed like the national record was next on the list.
Let me tell you something about this
Girl's
kid.
ambitious.
Let me tell you, I don't know. I think she's annoying.
You don't like the brown nosers?
No, I don't. Listen to the next. Play the next clip. Play the next clip.
There's 3 ingredients to the cookie seal. It takes lots of time, commitment, and asking everybody I see.
She's going to be a CEO. You realize?
Right?
She is.
Look, make no mistake about it. We're all going to be working for her at some point.
Right.
However, how old is she?
She's a middle schooler.
She's
so
a middle
I mean,
schooler.
what, 10,
Chill
11?
out and be a middle schooler. Well, what are you doing? You gotta like make it your life's ambition to sell more Girl Scout cookies than anybody else?
Yeah. Everyone is succeeding at younger ages now.
Yeah, but come on. Lighten up.
You've got to start them early.
Have some fun.
Don't be bitter about it. Embrace it.
You know
You're
what?
going to be working
I think that's
for
what
her.
it is. I think that's what it is. Because when I was in middle school, I was sniffing glue next to the dumpster, and she's out
spitballing.
Yeah,
at this
exactly,
girl
exactly.
in the
Doing
front.
bad things, and she's out there setting world records for sales. Yeah.
That's fine.
I think Rebecca nailed it. I think I'm just bitter.
It's okay. Maybe she'll send you some Girl Scout cookies.
What are the tagalongs, right? Those are the peanut butter ones.
I don't like those ones.
Get
I'm
out of here.
Samoas
I'm a
are
Samoa.
Samoas. Get out of here with those Samoas. What are they? Coconut? Are those ones with the coconut in them?
Yeah,
Some caramel.
coconut chocolate.
Nah, come on. Those taste like suntan lotion.
Okay, fine. More for me.
I mess with the tagalongs. I'm all about
Okay.
the tagalongs.
You can have those.
Okay. Thank you. Those are the king of the Girl Scout cookie. All right. We brought in Rebecca Berg not to talk about Girl Scout cookies.
That is an area of expertise, though.
Is it? Good.
Sure.
Did you ever sell Girl Scout cookies?
I was a Girl Scout when I was a child.
Okay.
For a few years, but I wasn't really a good salesman, so I
see?
didn't really like that part of
Take
it.
this little girl's advice. This middle schooler's
I know.
advice.
She could have taught me a few things.
What was it? She's right. It sounds like she's right. It sounds like a book pitch. Play that second clip again, Elisa.
There's 3 ingredients to the cookie seal. It takes lots of time, commitment, and asking everybody I see.
I tell you, it's a book pitch.
It's going to be a bestseller.
Yeah.
She was trying to be funny, though.
Pitch.
It's cute where she says, "Oh, and ask everybody I know." I think she was trying for some humor, but it didn't.
There's nothing
It fell.
cute about it. There's nothing cute. She's serious as a heart attack.
I wonder what her parents are like.
Oh, I got
that's
a
a good question.
idea. I got a good idea.
Yeah, me too.
I got a good idea. All right, so we're talking politics. Familiar face, different location. Scott Brown is back in the news. Rebecca Berg from the Washington Examiner. Tell us what the latest is with Scott Brown.
Well, he's in the midst of this main streets and living rooms tour around New Hampshire. And so he hasn't officially declared that he's running for Senate, but for all intents and purposes, he is.
He's going.
He just wanted to sort of ease himself into the campaign, form this exploratory committee, which allows him to raise money and go around the state and act like he's a candidate, but tell people that he's thinking about it and wants to hear their input before he decides. So it's basically for show. He's doing this tour to meet everyone in New Hampshire and try to become a little more New Hampshire himself along the way.
So he, last time he ran, lost to Elizabeth Warren in Massachusetts.
Right. Quite recently. Just
Very recently.
In 2012.
Very, very recently. And I know that, I mean, this happens often in politics. You face a failure and then you're able to come back. I mean, it happens every year practically. Someone has a political comeback.
Sure.
How rare is it that he's switching states and just that to me I find a little odd.
It is very rare. You've seen some people move to a state to run, but you don't like Hillary Clinton moved to New York to run for Senate. That's an example that a lot of Republicans will raise when they're talking about Scott Brown. But she hadn't lost in another state and then decided to move to New York. So it's a little bit different in that respect. He lost in Massachusetts and now he's moving to New Hampshire. But when I was speaking with him in New Hampshire, I asked him, why didn't you run in the special election against Markey? And this was just recently in Massachusetts when John Kerry decided to become Secretary of State. This seat opened up. And he said it was a personal decision. He just wanted to retire in New Hampshire. That had been the plan all along. And so it was a personal, not a political decision. You can take that for what it's worth, but that's at least what he's been saying.
The optics, at least, are a little dodgy, I think, right? Like, oh, you can't win in Massachusetts, so you have to go somewhere else to win.
Absolutely. The optics are a problem. Republicans will concede that the optics are a huge problem.
And I'm sure, I mean, that Scott Brown has to be anticipating that.
Yes.
So what's his comeback?
Well, his tack so far has been to go around and be upfront with people and explain to them, yes, I'm from Massachusetts, but here are my roots in New Hampshire. And to be fair, he does have roots in the state. His parents are from there. He was born technically in Kittery, Maine, but an island that's essentially between Maine and New Hampshire, the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. And he has been vacationing there for years. Since 1993, he has owned his house in Rye, New Hampshire. So he certainly, and Massachusetts and New Hampshire, they're next door neighbors. There's a ton of crossover, and sometimes people who aren't from the region forget that. So he's basically been going around explaining this to people.
So if that is what he's expecting, and he's got a canned answer, right, which is fine. I'm not knocking him for that necessarily. What are his opponents saying already? I mean, are they just eating this up? Are they going to go after this, or how's that playing?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, already Jeanne Shaheen's campaign is casting the same aspersions on his move that you mentioned. You know, he couldn't win in Massachusetts, so now he's coming here. It's sort of this carpetbagger attack against him. And then they're also bringing up some of these issues we saw in his Massachusetts campaign and trying to use them against him successfully in New Hampshire.
Yeah, right.
So when Scott Brown and Elizabeth Warren were competing in Massachusetts, they signed what was called a People's Pledge. They decided that they wanted to limit outside spending in their race. And so they would pay back all of the money or half of the money that outside groups spent on ads in the race. Jeanne Shaheen tried to get Scott Brown to sign the same pledge because, well, you did it in Massachusetts. Why can't you do it here? And this is going to be a very expensive race.
Oh, wow.
And he said, no way. You're playing Washington games.
Oh, boy.
So that's their strategy so far. It's working pretty well.
Any indication, I know it's obviously very early, but any indication how he's being received by the people of New Hampshire? I mean, are they ready to embrace him as one of their own?
New Hampshire voters are an interesting breed because they're very entitled voters. Because the presidential election is huge in New Hampshire, it's an early presidential primary state. And it's a very small state. There's an expectation that candidates go around and meet everyone multiple times during a campaign cycle. Even at the presidential level. And so for a Senate race, they have a similar expectation. They expect Scott Brown to go around, meet with them a couple of times, and for that, they will hear him out. So a lot of New Hampshire voters are familiar with Scott Brown, but are also trying to be open-minded at this point. And so it could go either way for him. I don't think that the Massachusetts thing will be the major issue in this campaign. I think it will be New Hampshire voters being very comfortable with Jeanne Shaheen and how potent of an issue is Obamacare and the president's approval rating this year.
So there we go. That is an excellent segue point on Obamacare, because this week we saw the great prognosticator himself, Nate Silver, predicted that the Democrats will not keep the Senate.
Right.
And one of the big issues, of course, is Obamacare and the senators that are going to be running on it. So how does this play into the big picture when we look at the 2014 Senate races? What are we looking at?
Well, Nate Silver's prediction, as you mentioned, 60% that Republicans will win back the Senate, win at least 6 seats. Yesterday, Democrats had an interesting response to this prediction. Within D.C., they sent out a memo to reporters basically saying Nate Silver is overblown. In 2012, his Senate predictions were off because he relies on public polls.
Which, by the way,
right,
that's a thin argument.
And they were huge fans of Nate Silver in 2012 because he was predicting President Obama would be reelected, as he was.
Right.
But
and by the way, he picked 50 out of 50 states and 31 out of 33 Senate races.
He had a very good record.
I mean, when you miss 2 out of 83.
But here's the catch.
Pretty good.
So within D.C., they're telling the D.C. class, he's overblown. Don't pay too much mind to this. But at the same time, they sent out an email to their donors saying this prediction is shocking and scary. And so it's actually a great fundraising tool for Democrats. But looking at the map in general, I mean, Democrats and Republicans alike will tell you that the map has expanded.
Yeah.
And that's in large part because of the president's approval rating, because of Obamacare. Whether Republicans can seal the deal and win those 6 states, net 6 states, that's obviously to be determined.
I do think it was interesting that, and maybe a little underreported on the Nate Silver thing, that he said at the end of it, look, it will not take much to swing this either way.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, there's still a decent amount of time, and anything could happen between now and then. So, I mean, it's close, right?
It is. And he noted that Republicans could win 6. They could win up to 11 states, or they could win 1.
Right.
So it's really, really early to tell because so many things can happen between now and November.
Yeah. What are some of the big ones that we should be keeping an eye out?
The big states?
Yeah, the big states. Yeah.
Well, If the election were held today, there are probably 3 states that would go for Republicans just right off the bat, and those would be South Dakota, Montana, and West Virginia. Those at this point are leaning Republican. Some of the ones on the bubble, I would say in order from most likely to turn to least, would be Louisiana, where Mary Landrieu is running for re-election.
Right.
She is very much in danger, not because of anything she's done, but because Louisiana has become much more Republican. Arkansas, where Mark Pryor is running for re-election against Tom Cotton, a veteran member of Congress and very well liked in Arkansas. So that's a very tough race for him. And then North Carolina is another very competitive state where Kay Hagan is running for re-election. All of these states, and I would also mention Alaska in that group where Mark Begich is running. In all these states, a big problem Democrats have faced early on is Americans for Prosperity and other Republican-leaning groups have been spending tons of money earlier than they ever have before. So already their poll numbers are really deflated in those states.
All right. Good stuff. We're going to take a quick break. Rebecca Berg from the Washington Examiner, political correspondent. Follow her on Twitter at Rebecca G. Berg and online at WashingtonExaminer.com. Still lots of stuff to talk about, so stick around. We got a quick break, and we'll be right back with more from Rebecca. It's the Bill Press Show. Peter Ogburn sitting in for Bill. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look, your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
on your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. Peter Ogren in for Bill on this Tuesday edition of the show, March 25. The rest of the week, we have actual legitimate journalists coming in to host the show. Evan McMorris Santoro, Clinton Yates from the Washington Post, and Sabrina Siddiqui are all coming in to host the program.
Solid lineup.
Right? People have had enough of me, frankly. It's time for me to go. So you just have about 35 more minutes of me hosting the show, and then we have real, actual people who know what they're talking about.
It's never enough of you, Peter.
You're too kind. Thank you also so much for tuning in. Our conversation continues with Washington Examiner political correspondent Rebecca Berg. Follow her on Twitter at Rebecca G. Berg and online at WashingtonExaminer.com. So we've talked about the Senate. We've talked about Scott Brown. There's nothing left except for 2016.
Exactly.
2016. It's almost
what
time.
What everyone wants to know about.
Yeah.
It's always time. It's never too early. It's already getting started.
So where are we now? Who's running? Who's in? Who's out? Has anybody officially declared they're running, and who's close, I guess?
No one has officially declared they're running. At this stage, you're seeing people declare that they're thinking about it, and they're basically running right now and evaluating the field. So on the Democratic side, of course, Hillary Clinton not saying much at all, but going around doing speaking engagements and acting like she's running for president, even though she isn't officially yet. And then on the Republican side, that's where it really gets fun, because you have these underdog candidates who either ran last time and didn't make the cut, or you have some Republicans who would like to run this time for the first time, but for some reason or another, their brand isn't quite where it needs to be. So they are going around now and starting to really lay the groundwork for a presidential campaign in a serious, kind of shameless way.
It's always pretty shameless.
Right. It's always,
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not pretty.
That comes with the territory, I guess. But you have people like Bobby Jindal, Rick Santorum, Rick Perry, already going to the early primary states, basically admitting that they're running for president right now. Exactly. And then, I mean, you see the same from people like Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, going to the early primary states, starting to talk to people who might work on their teams and trying to curry favor in advance of a run.
What about Chris Christie?
Chris Christie is still kind of just hanging out in New Jersey and waiting for things to settle down, which is objectively the smart thing for him to do, because he has such a brand already established. His name recognition is really good, so he doesn't need as much to be in these states like some of these other potential candidates trying to get a team together, because that would just happen.
He has a lot of name recognition for good and bad purposes these days, right?
Exactly.
Like he's still fighting his
He's
own
a very
problems,
polarizing figure now.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will see what happens. Obviously, the closer we get, the more news we'll have come out of it. Very exciting. Rebecca Berg, Washington Examiner political correspondent. Follow her again on Twitter at Rebecca G. Berg and online at WashingtonExaminer.com. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks, Peter. Always a pleasure.
All right. We have about a half hour left of the program. Thank you so much for tuning in. Margaret Talev from Bloomberg, White House correspondent, joins us in studio here in just a few moments. Quick break, and then we'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday, March 25. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Heard on your favorite progressive radio station and seen on YouTube, youtube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV. I'm hosting the show for one more day. And the rest of the week, we brought in real serious journalists to host the show, not just me. But when I host, I always like to bring in smarter people to help me out. So I have brought in our good friend from Bloomberg, White House correspondent, Margaret Talev.
Thank you. I brought some snow with me this morning.
Good morning.
Too.
What the hell is the snow?
I don't know.
It's like, I was just talking to Rebecca. It's spring, but I'm not going to call this spring. This is not spring.
March is like in like a lion, out like a lion.
Yes, exactly. It's just garbage weather.
Yeah.
And I always know how bad the weather's going to be by the call I get from my father the day before of like, hey man, no global warming, huh? You guys are getting snow in March.
That proves it.
Yeah. It's somewhat colder than it should be where I am. Therefore, global warming is a hoax.
Where does your dad live?
South Carolina.
Well, so it's... Oh, actually, I was talking to my mother-in-law last night. They live in Hilton Head.
Okay.
And she said it was going to be 39 degrees there today.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'd feel bad for you if it wasn't going to be snowing
Yeah,
here.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. All right, Margaret, thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it. By the way, we get guest pitches all the time of like who wants to come on the show. I just got one.
Oh, yes. Please share.
Joan Rivers.
Get out.
Right?
Will you read it?
All
Where's the pitch?
So this is the Joan Rivers radio tour promoting season 4 of Joan and Melissa, Joan Knows Best. Does anybody know what channel that's on?
We Channel, I think.
We TV. Did you get the pitch?
No.
How did you know that's on We TV? What is We TV?
Actually, Alicia told me.
Is that right? I don't know.
It's a women's channel.
Oh, okay.
It's like the other Lifetime.
That's why you don't know about it.
I'm like 25% woman, but I don't watch We TV.
Wait, never mind.
I keep it real with Lifetime, okay? I don't go to We TV. That's for a younger generation, I guess. Joan Rivers. So this is the pitch. After celebrating her 80th birthday, Joan Rivers takes the concept of bucket list to new highs and lows by compiling her... Oh, well, it rhymes with bucket list, but it's not bucket list.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's that.
That's what they want to do on your show?
That's what they want to do on the show.
Wait a minute.
While Joan ticks off her blanket list... Oh, good Lord. She twerks, has a naked casting call, takes drugs... enters a best ball contest, makes a sex tape, and pushes Melissa over the edge when she brings the zombie apocalypse into her home.
I'd like to see her take that tour to Russia and the Ukraine right now. Sort of mix it up a little.
It's nice to see she's aging gracefully.
That's awesome.
Holy cow. Anyway, I said, we take her.
I will tune in. I'd actually like to be in studio.
Yeah, we'll definitely take Joan Rivers on the show. So that might be next week. We'll see what happens. All right, Margaret. Let's talk about the crazy Euro trip that the president is on. He's currently in the Netherlands.
No twerking.
No twerking.
But there is a nuclear security summit.
So he's over there for this nuclear summit. What exactly is on the president's agenda?
Right, so this whole trip got cooked up like months ago, long before Crimea was a glimmer in anybody's eye, right?
Yeah.
And so they're sort of going through with it, but the Ukraine has overshadowed everything that's on the agenda. But it started out here in The Hague. It's moving on to Brussels. It's the nuclear security summit. Then it goes on to NATO, and then it goes on to his meeting with the Pope, and then they go from the Vatican to Mecca. Essentially, they end in Saudi Arabia. But so what has been going on is that the president's been using these meetings with these Western leaders and leaders of major countries to sort of try to galvanize support for the U.S.'s position in pressuring Russia on Ukraine. And so far, that's really overtaken everything else. The G8 has been sort of turned back into the G7. Russia's out. That's the biggest thing. That's the big punishment so far, because the president has not been able to galvanize European opinion yet on these sanctions that are really, that would have much more bite, the sort of sector sanctions on banking and energy. And so they're sort of in the middle of this pressure Russia tour.
Right. So the G8 is now the G7.
And let's be honest, the G8 was always the G7. I mean, because the G7 remained. There was they included Russia in the G7, turning it into the G8, and that was like back in the Yeltsin day to sort of reward that Russia for making these reforms that are turning it toward the West. But they always kept the G7 in reserve, kind of like, okay, let's have our real meeting. And
we know Russia's going to screw up at some point. They're sort of like the Pete Best of the G8, right?
But by the way, it's taken all these, what has it been, 4 weeks now or 3 weeks? And the turning, yanking Russia out of the G8 has been like, it took almost a month to galvanize opinion to do that. And so these sort of more serious steps that would impact, certainly Russia's economy, but also the global economy, these are still a ways away.
So when we look at I think we can call it contentious relationship right now between the United States and Russia.
That's a fair assessment.
I think that's. I mean, the sanctions everywhere, right? Like sanctions galore. They're just throwing sanctions on each other back and forth. Is there any real consequence in terms of our relationship with Russian trade or whatever?
Well, yes.
Okay.
I mean, the consequence is this. Right now, the sanctions that are actually in place are mostly sanctions against individual people that are close to Putin and the administration there. And they're meant to sort of call people out and punish people who are already wealthy. Mm-hmm. The sanctions that the president has authorized, but are still mostly in reserve, are these sanctions against sectors of the Russian, economy. Mm-hmm. I mean, and it is the imposition of those, both by the U.S. and by the Western powers, that would have a much greater impact, not only mostly on Russia, but also on the rest of the U.S. and the rest of the world. And Germany, in particular, kind of the major Western powers, has the most to lose in terms of their exports and in terms of where they get their energy. And that's been part of why it's so hard to galvanize support, because it'll have an impact on other economies besides Russia. Yeah.
All right. How did you not go on this trip, by the way? I should just mention, you should all go follow Margaret Talev on Twitter. Margaret Talev, Talev. Every time I check Twitter, you're at some far-flung corner of the world.
Yeah, I've had a pretty good run lately. I was just in Lithuania last week.
No kidding.
Yeah, no, I did the Biden trip to Vilnius.
Oh, wow.
And to Warsaw.
So why aren't you in Europe?
Well, the wire services always send 2 reporters on each trip, and there's 6 of us on our team, and it just wasn't my turn. I mean, I would love to be there. This started out kind of like, okay, whatever, it's a Euro trip, and with this cool element of going to the Vatican.
The Pope,
everybody wants to do that.
Sure.
But it's turned into this incredibly newsy trip because of what's been happening in Russia. And by the way, there's sort of an interesting sub-theme, which I'm interested in because I'll go to Asia next month when the president does that trip.
Oh, cool.
But one little meeting, it'll be tonight, Europe time, or noon or so, U.S. time, is that the president is pulling together the leaders of Japan and South Korea today for sort of a diplomatic huddle.
Right. That's sort of like a side thing. I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, it is.
What's going on?
It is. Well, boy, I mean, the Cliff Notes version of it is just that there are these decades-long nationalistic tensions between Japan and South Korea, and the U.S. doesn't want to see that because even though we claim that we're not doing containment against China, we like to have our ducks in a row. When I say our, I mean the U.S. The U.S. likes to have its ducks in a row in terms of our allies in Asia, so that if the U.S. doesn't like what China's doing, they can sort of get Japan and South Korea on the same page to put pressure on China. And what's been going on with the two current leaders of Japan and South Korea is some concerns that they're pulling away from each other and not together. So the president's kind of trying to circle the wagons, as it were.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's getting a lot of stuff done.
There's like a lot going on this trip that was started kind of like a throwaway Euro vacation in the spring.
The G7/G8 of the Pope trip.
Otherwise known as I needed a reason to visit the Pope. Right.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Right. Which we should talk about too.
Yeah. Well, let's take a quick break and then we'll talk a little bit more about the Pope and that visit, because the Pope is coming here too, right? I mean,
you can never get too much of this.
Right.
Pope.
This
Not
Pope
right
is
now.
just like, he's like Bruce Springsteen. Everybody wants a piece of the
He's
Pope.
like Bruce Springsteen in 1984.
Yeah, good point.
Right.
Good point. 42 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today. Margaret Talev from Bloomberg, White House correspondent, is in studio with us. Lots more to talk about. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, 46 minutes past the hour on this Tuesday, March 25th. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Thank you so very much for tuning in, either on your radio or on the video stream at youtube.com/TawkrTV. A great place. You can see old videos, by the way. The archived video, we keep it all there. youtube.com/TawkrTV. I could not do this by myself, so I brought in some help. Margaret Talev, Bloomberg White House correspondent. Thank you for coming in, Margaret.
Thank you.
Follow Margaret on Twitter, Margaret Talev, Talev, and read her good work online at Bloomberg.com. So the second leg of the President Obama Euro trip world tour is he's going to meet with Pope Francis.
Yeah.
Who is a rock star in his own right these days. These are two supernovas, right?
He's like Obama in June of 2008.
That's so good. Yes, it's exactly what it is. He is the world leader of the moment, and President Barack Obama is going to meet with him. What spurred this on? What are they going to be talking about? Why have this meeting now?
I mean, it's one of these sort of serendipitous things where you can see all the engines of the Obama wheelhouse turning at the same time. We're going to be in Europe in the spring. What else could we pack in between nuclear security and NATO, which were like both hardcore snoozers of issues at the time the trip was planned, right?
Yeah.
And, well, Rome's next door. So, I mean, Pope Francis and President Obama on paper have a lot of stuff in common, and to a pollster and to a campaign advisor, right, have a lot of stuff in common. The president's income inequality message probably jibes pretty well with what Pope Francis is talking about. Pope Francis's relative progressivism, I mean, within the confines of the Catholic Church on gay rights and how gays should be viewed by society and accepted, relatively speaking, in the church. That's all kind of good stuff as far as Obama is concerned. And then don't forget that when you look in the United States at what sector of Catholics are actually growing demographically, well, it happens to be Latinos and immigration, and there's all this overlap. So they have a lot of issues in common. But if this were a unpopular, either controversial pope or sort of snoozer of a pope that nobody cared about, who would really care that they have all these issues in common? And the president's relationship with, Christianity and religion and how closely he holds himself to individual leaders or churches or people has always been sort of, well, sometimes it's been fraught with tension and sometimes it's just been darn interesting to watch, And this is sort of another example of that. But there are some differences also with the president and with this pope or with any pope. I mean, some of them are sort of coming to their forefront now in the Supreme Court, and how Obamacare and how birth control and this sort of stuff works inside the administration. And so it's not like they're simpatico on 100% of everything.
Right.
But as far as the president is concerned, this is basically like a can't lose meeting.
Yeah.
There was a time when everyone wanted their picture made with President Obama, and now you look ahead at these 2014 races, and Senate Democrats are like, I have to go to the doctor. Something came up, family emergency. I've got to deal with a pressing issue on the other side of my state. Won't be able to make it to the airport for the tarmac landing. And the president's cool with that. Like, all politicians get it. That's just how it works. But that's where the president is right now. He's in the please help us raise money, but I don't want my picture with you phase right now. And that is, it's just such an interesting sort of arc, a narrative arc from where he was, and now he's the one who wants to be seen with this guy.
Yeah, that's interesting. And everybody wants a piece of the Pope these days.
Everybody does, and the Pope has to be sort of selective about who he says yes to and how he says yes, but in the end, he wasn't going to turn down the president. So,
it's tough to say no to that. Earlier this month, John Boehner invited the Pope Francis to come and address the United States Congress. Pope Francis has indicated he would like to come to the United States next year. 2015.
Yeah, that's too late for Obama.
Right,
no,
exactly.
It's not. No,
right,
he'll still be working on his legacy then. But
the legacy tour.
He could use a lifeline.
By that time, Biden may have announced, right? Like they could have like their whole, tie-in. I mean,
you just can't get.
Can you imagine Biden with the Pope?
Oh my goodness!
He's running for president?
Literally and figuratively, yes. I can't imagine it.
The best. That would be the best.
Of course, Biden can't. Biden is in New Hampshire this week. I'm sure that has nothing to do with politics. Because when you're talking jobs plan, you're thinking New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
That's what I'm thinking.
Exactly.
I'm thinking New Hampshire.
Exactly. All right. So one of the other issues, when you talk about issues that the president is sort of getting knocked on these days, Obamacare being one of them, a lot of progressives, including the man who usually sits in this chair, Bill Press, has a big issue with the NSA and the data collection. And so the president has sort of acknowledged that we are going to move away from the way that we have done things in the past with the NSA. So what happens next, Margaret?
Wow. So, as you know, this has been going on for, almost a year, right? Like 10 months now since Ed Snowden's revelations, leaks, et cetera, began. And so what is happening is that the president is about to hit this sort of final date on Friday for receiving recommendations internally about the changes to make to the NSA program. And we just got word last night and this morning about one of these, which is the issue of the bulk data collection on the phone records and how they're going to change this so that the NSA isn't collecting your phone records for periods of 5 years, right? So what are they going to do about it? And so what the administration is looking at doing now, this is just, there's no way to do this without getting into the weeds, but is essentially to say, we don't need to keep this stuff for 5 years anymore. The phone companies should be able to manage this stuff, and they shouldn't have to keep it longer than they already would, which is about 1.5 years. And they think they can still do this with the flexibility of the NSA, along with the courts figuring out what they need and being able to get orders to get it.
Yeah.
That's the broad strokes of what they're talking about doing, but there's two really important caveats. Number one, he's still going to ask for the program to get reauthorized for another 3 months.
Yep.
And number two, that's going to keep happening unless Congress changes it. So there's two ways to look at this. Number one is, the president's doing what he said he was going to do. He came up with a plan to narrow the way this happens so that Americans don't feel like they're being spied on as much. But the other way to look at this is the president's continuing the program and punting it to Congress. Yeah. They've come up with a legislative plan. But guess what? They come up with a lot of legislative plans, including the budget that goes to Congress that never gets adopted. So now this joins a heap of proposals that the Congress is going to now tangle with about how to change the NSA bulk data collection. And so what it really is a matter of wait and see. They're trying to take some steps to put a slightly tighter fence around how they keep this information, but the government is not going to stop looking at phone records that they think they need to look at.
Right. And I think one of the important things that I took away from this is that a lot of Americans felt a little... I mean, I don't want to say helpless. That might be a little too strong of a word, but you always assume that someone's looking out for your best interest, right? So the United States government wants to snoop on you. Your phone company or whatever can say, like, no, these are their record. Your email company, right? Like these are their records. These are personal. We're not going to give those to you, right? But like now they're sort of saying that your phone company, whoever you choose to do business with, will give you a little more protection.
Sort of, but they still have to look if a court orders.
That's the thing, yeah.
But the administration's position has always been, and the president's position has always been explicitly, the government is not listening into your phone calls if you're like a regular person. Right. And even if you're not a regular person, they're not listening to your call unless there's a whole series of steps that took place first. But in general, if you're worried that you don't really know what the government's doing, you still don't really know what the government's doing. That's the way it works. If you knew what they were doing, the bad guys would be able to evade it.
It wouldn't be working,
The tension still really remains. So this is going to take months to work out.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Margaret Talev from Bloomberg, White House correspondent. Follow her on Twitter at Margaret Talev, Talev, and online at Bloomberg.com. Margaret, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. Now back into the snow.
Yes, exactly.
For more snow.
Jeez. Happy spring.
Yes.
My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill. Very quick break. We'll wrap up the show after this.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, do you realize that heart disease kills more Americans every year than all forms of cancer combined? So when you donate to the American Heart Association, you're contributing to life-saving research with every dollar. You can make your donation today through the Pop Money personal payment service. All you do is download the app or go online to popmoney.com. Sign up to send your donation to jessica.gramillion@heart.org. Jessica.gramillion@heart.org. Here's the best part. The 95-cent fee is assessed to you, the sender, regardless of how much money you contribute. That means that 100% of your donation goes to support the ongoing research to help save lives across America. No fees are paid by the American Heart Association, getting more bang for your buck. And of course, terms and conditions apply.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, it is the Bill Press Show. Jeez, show's almost over, huh? It flew by. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Just a couple seconds left. Just wanted to let you know that later on in the week, we will be having some of our favorite guests as the hosts. Evan McMorris Santoro, Clinton Yates, and Sabrina Siddiqui, all going to be hosting the show Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll still be here, but we're just rallying around Bill while he is in lovely Hawaii while it snows here.
Enjoy it for us all.
We're cursing his name. My name is Peter Ogburn. I've been sitting in for Bill. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you tomorrow.
This is the Bill Press Show.